music.
There is a terrible way to win. There is only winning.
We won't be out long.
Take your time. Track's all yours.
You ready? The name on the middle of that steering wheel should tell you that I was born ready. Hit it. Attaboy.
Let me drive. I won't make a fool out of you.
I got a message for all of them. Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind? That just happened.
These cars, you sit in a box, a coffin, gasoline all around you. It isn't like it being inside a bomb.
It's tough enough being a girl on the track. Living in my dad's shadow doesn't help much.
You have to be kind to the car. You feel the poor thing groaning underneath you.
No race was ever won in the first corner.
I'm gonna give you an engine, low to the ground, extra big oil pans will cut the wind from underneath you. That'll give you 30 to 40 more horsepower.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
Brakes are warm. Tires are warm.
I'll work in the cars and I'll drive and I'll eat and sleep and I'll work in the cars and I'll drive.
Damn fast, and when you run so close together, it requires fantastic concentration and rather special skills.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
If you're going to push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to hold together, you have to have some sense of where that limit is.
Besides, the best drivers don't dwell on the future or the past. The best drivers focus only on the present.
They could never have imagined it, those pioneers who invented the automobile, that it would possess us like this in our imaginations, our dreams.
I'm gonna give you a fuel line that will hold an extra gallon of gas. I'm gonna shave half an inch off you and shape you like a bullet.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
Racing is in my blood.
I was put on this earth to race cars.
I accept every time I get in my car. There's 20% chance I could die, and I can live with it, but not 1% more.
No, Nicky, don't bring the percentages into this. Don't be a pro. The minute you do that, you kill what's good about this. You kill the sport.
And at that speed, your reactions can barely keep up with these sudden changes in direction.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up?
You want me to work the pit and you drive? Fine, we'll try that.
The car's a living, breathing thing, and she's alive.
If any of us imagined, really imagined, what it would be like to go into a tree at 150 miles an hour, we would probably never get into the cars at all. None of us.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
I am just as good as anybody out there on that track, and I don't need anybody to win my races for me.
I wish my daddy were alive to see this, to feel this.
And when we get you primed, painted, and weighed, you'll be ready to go out on that racetrack. You're gonna be perfect.
You don't understand what happens, do you? They make 10,000 cars, they make them exactly the same way, and one or two of them turn out to be something special. Nobody knows why.
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
So it has always seemed to me that to do something very dangerous requires a certain absence of imagination.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
Soon you will know what it is like to be defeated by the hands of somebody who is truly better than you.
The only thing to do here is to drive just as fast as you know how and hope your car doesn't break.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
If you ain't first, you're last. There's 40 other vultures out there who managed to finish the race on their tires. You see Darrell Waltrip using up his tires?
There's nothing I can't do with a race car.
I mean, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
Sometimes you could swear the whole thing's falling to bits.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
On the other hand, I suppose potential problems are in the back of your mind all the time.
So in many ways, I feel responsible for what happened. And
You were, but trust me, watching you win those races while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
You're so lucky. Sit there all closed in by machinery and bolts, precise things. There's hardly any room for you. It must be a nice, safe feeling.
Yeah, you gotta learn to trust something. Might just as well be the seat of your pants.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, just waiting.
Well, we can drive. We can drive beyond the limits of the tires, the engine, the car, anything else.
Look out there. Out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes. Every gear change, every corner. Perfect. You see it.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
But it isn't just business, is it? What we do, it's passion, love, which is why we are prepared to risk our lives for it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Why does everybody keep telling me what my problem is?
That you get so emotional.
You would never, ever say that to a guy.
If you don't leave your feelings off the track, you're never going to get what you want.
I'm a race driver, and I can win it on my own.
Please let me race.
Fine. Then let's race.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is the season finale of Season 2 of the Grand Prix World Series. We are here at Laguna Seca, and there is so much up for grabs today. 4 championships still to be decided. We do not have a champion yet crowned in this season. We do have some teams that have secure promotion up into League 1 for next season, and one team already relegated down into League 2 for Season 3. But today we focus on the battles at the front and who will be the champions at the end of today's action, the Laguna Seca Grand Prix. My name is Topher Smith, and alongside me in the comm box, as always, Tom Cairns. Tom, this is it.
This is very much it. A very intense day for a lot of team managers. Of course, not quite so for those who have been promoted, but there is still a driver's cycle up for grabs in that Topher, and I believe there are 5 drivers who could still potentially win it.
Well, before we get on to the drivers and team standings and have a look at who is still in contention, one driver change to make note of for the upcoming League 2 race, and that is that the live team, Andrew Sampson, bringing Yuri Vips back on board again. He won on debut last time out at Buenos Aires, a very good race there from the Estonian, but this time he replaces Antonio Fuoco, Marino Sato, back into the grid, and as a result will serve his back of the grid penalty today. And Tom, this was an interesting one by Sampson because it has effectively cost him any realistic chance of getting the Drivers' Championship this season, but he stayed true to his words, gave Yuri Vips a race in place of Sato and now a race in place of Fuoco. Having won last time out, surely Andrew Sampson must now be thinking about bringing him in full-time for Season 3.
You would think so, but who else would go for either Fuoco or Sato if either of the two were to be dropped at the end of the season? Because there's going to be so many managers going for them. And with the League 3 League 3 Championship being put together for Season 3, it's going to be very much wide open in terms of the driver market as well. So Fuoco wouldn't be a bad shout if Live were to not continue with his services.
The same can be said for Marino Sato as well. Both drivers are race winners this season. They've both fought for the championship right up towards the end. But it is all down to Andrew Sampson and what he wants to do with his live team. We approach the off-season drivers market at the end of today's event, and who will go where. A lot to go on there. But for now, let's focus on what is going on trackside. A quick look at the Drivers' Championship. Going into this race, the gold line beneath Marino Sato denoting who can still win the championship. Well, of course, it's not going to be Antonio Fuoco. He's not racing today. Adrian Sutil, 4 points in the lead over Will Power. A further 4 ahead of Helio Castroneves. Jose Maria Lopez and Marino Sato both still in contention again today. Sato needing a perfect score of the win and the fastest lap to stand any chance this day. Tom, it's so close between those 6 drivers. How do you see this one going?
Well, it's 1 in 4, isn't it? And 9 points separate Sutil, Power, Castroneves and Lopez. And, you know, it's anyone's game now. So if anyone could possibly win it, Can Lopez, who hasn't won a race this year, can he defy the odds and pull off a brilliant comeback performance in this one and take the driver's title away from Adrian Sutil? But anything can happen here at Laguna Seca. And given what we've seen in the Grand Prix World Series season finale with that, with Fernand Hartley battling it out, anything can happen really. So I expect there to be a lot of drama in this one, but I don't know who you'd think you would be going for the title. I mean, if I was to go for a champion at this point, my prediction, I'd probably go with Castroneves, if I'm honest with you, because of the Leighton House's superior pace.
Well, Helio Castroneves is on pole position today, putting himself in a perfect spot to go ahead and try and claim the League 2 drivers' title today, but there are 4 other drivers who will want to be stopping him from doing that today. A quick look now at the team standings heading into this race. The green for Leighton House and Life, denoting that they are already promoted into League 1 for Season 3. However, the championship not yet decided between those two. 35 points of difference, 45 points up for grabs. It's looking likely for Leighton House, Tom, but a non-score and a perfect score for Life could change everything.
It really, really could. And Marino Salsa started in the back of the grid for Life. He's got it with all to do, so it's going to be... Not only Marino Salsa is going to be fighting for his seats, but he's going to be fighting for the title potentially as well, because, he's still got a mathematical chance, it depends what happens up front. But, for Life to win the championship would be brilliant for Andrew Sampson, who's guaranteed his place in League 1 next season. And also not to mention HRT, Topher, because Eurobrun have failed to take pole position for the Laguna Seca race, HRT are now also promoted.
Yes, absolutely correct, Tom. Eurobrun had to score pole position to stand any chance of securing promotion into League 1, and as it turns out, they haven't done it. So even though the graphic shows there the Eurobrun is still in contention, this was done before qualifying in Eurobrun, now confirmed in 4th place. HRT will be promoted up into League 1 next season. A massive congratulations to them and to John Munro for the fantastic job he's done with that team this season. Let's now get down to trackside for the League 2 race, a final race of the season within our second tier of racing. On pole, Helio Castroneves for Leighton House, one of our title contenders, ahead of Alex Lynn, a race winner this season, hoping to throw a spanner in the works of the Leighton House party today. Jose Maria Lopez, another title contender, there in 3rd, ahead of Yuri Vips, our winner on debut last time out. Brendan Hartley, a good job in the Pacific for him in 5th place, ahead of Adrian Sutil, our championship leader. Max Chilton heads up row 4 ahead of Will Power, another one of our title contenders today. Scott Speed and Christian Lundgaard there on row 5, while row 6, Marcus Finkelhock in the 2nd Eurobrun ahead of Sam Bird in the Zach Speed. Alexander Rossi, a race winner earlier this season but fell away in the second half of the season, no longer a title contender. He will go from the head of row 7 ahead of Sergei Sorokin in the Force India. Jake Dennis still doing a good job in that Andrea Moda to get to the front of row 8 ahead of Will Stevens in the Modena. Row 9, Alan McNish and Sergio Seticamera, 17th and 18th for those two. Jack Aitken and Lucas Degrassi on row 10, that is 19th and 20th for the Force India and for the Zach Speed. Jerome D'Ambrosio and Esteban Gutierrez are in 21st and 22nd. Then the Real duo of Turvey and Conway on row 12. And on the back row, Gaston Mazzicani and Marino Sato, who are serving his back of the grid penalty. We now go down to the track. Helio Castroneves on pole position. Alex Lynn alongside him in 2nd. Tom, give us a prediction. How is this going to go?
Castroneves to be champion.
Castroneves to be champion. I have absolutely no idea how this is going to pan out. So I'm just going to sit back, enjoy this, and try to bring you all the excitement from Laguna Seca here today. A fantastic showdown in prospect for you. 6 drivers still mathematically in contention. One of them not racing today, one of them at the back of the grid, and the other one at the front of the grid. A lot of action can happen here in California, though. We are waiting for the green flag to drop and we can go racing here in Laguna Seca. And we are off and away for the season finale. And Helio Castroneves has bogged down a bit. Alex Lynn straight into the lead of the Grand Prix here. Great start there from the HRT. Gets the run down through turn 1. Coming down now into the Andretti hairpin. He leads away. And Scott Speed is off already. He's barely done 100 yards here at his home Grand Prix. Now what's happened here? Starting from 9th position in the Modena is his home event. He wanted to do well here today. Maybe get onto the podium if he could. Waiting for the green flag to drop, and there it goes. So what has happened to Scott Speed here? Getting away off the line. And oh, he's just ploughed straight into the back of Max Chilton there. Max Chilton getting a little bit of a slower start away from the line, and Scott Speed getting a bit caught out from that. And Tom, I don't think we can put any blame on Max Chilton there at all. I think that's just Scott Speed simply getting caught out.
Yeah, he got caught, and there's more drama. Sergio Sette Camara's been hit from behind.
So Sergio Sette Camara with a wheel falling off his car. He is out of the race along with Scott Speed. Now what has happened here? Camara starting down from P18, looking back from his onboard. That's Lucas Di Grassi and Jack Aitken behind him, and Zach Speed and the Force India. What's gone on here? He's trying to get down the inside by the looks of it. Hasn't he been hit up from behind? Oh, it's Alan McNish that's gone into him, and he's now hit the front of one of the Andrea Motors as well. I think that might have been Jake Dennis that he was pushed into the back of. So it's actually two wheels that have come off the Pacific there. Not a great start there for Carter McCollum and the team. And Tom, pick the pieces out of that one. For me, Scott Speed looked like he went straight into the back of Max Chilton, while Sergio Sette Camara, I think, just a victim of a concertina effect into turn one there.
Yeah, and it all started with, I think it was contact with the Zach Speed as well, which McNish made contact with first before he clouted into Sergio Sette Camara. So Speed out of his home Grand Prix, Sette Camara also out as well. And yeah, what a chaotic start to this race here in Laguna Seca. Lap 1 of 60, Lynn is leading, although Castroneves is looking to fight back as they go towards the corkscrew for the first time. Lynn stays ahead with Castroneves behind. Jose Maria Lopez doing a fine job in third place so far, but as it stands, as far as the championship is concerned, I believe Castroneves, I can't remember if he's going to be champion at this point, and just trying to look at the permutations at the moment, but it's looking good so far for Alex Lynn as he looks to help his teammate Adrian Suttle in the championship.
Well, I believe, as it stands, Helio Castroneves would be champion, but we are only just coming to the end of lap 1. We still have a lot of racing left to go here in California. There is the opening lap of the race in the books. A chaotic start with both Scott Speed and Sergio Sette Camara falling by the wayside before reaching this corner here, the Andretti hairpin of turn 2. Castroneves bogging down at the start and losing out on that lead to Alex Lynn, who got a really good start off the line, and he now holds the advantage by half a second over Helio Castroneves, looking to get the championship here today. Jose Maria Lopez in third at the moment. Oh, a little bit of a lock-up there from Will Stevens, but he's able to keep that Modena going. The sole remaining Modena left in this race, upholding honour for Paul Twemlow and the team. Paul Twemlow will not be continuing with the Modena squad. He'll want to end this season on a high. Can he get any points today from Will Stevens? We still have a long way to go here at Laguna Seca. Lap 2 of 60, Alex Lynn there in the lead, right in front of Helio Castroneves, who might line himself up for a move down into the corkscrew here. Looks like he is trying to get as close as he can to the HRT, but decides not to go for it this time around. Alex Lynn holding on to that advantage, but Castroneves, Tom, looking very racy at this point. He's put that bad start behind him. Now he wants to get back through into the lead.
Yep, and where is the best place going to be doing? Is he going to be able to do it? That's the number one question for Castroneves, but he doesn't need to risk anything at this point. He knows, with where everyone else is at this moment in time, he would be champion. He's right on board with Max Chilton in 10th place, who he's fighting for his future at the moment. Of course, he's only competing in the second race, but could he be a potential option for the future? We'll find out soon enough. Castroneves posting the fastest lap of the race. I think that lap time's going to come down as the race goes on.
Well, we're still in the opening stages of this race. Fuel loads will come down, the cars will go faster. Not quite sure yet on what the pit strategies are going to be in this race. We often see a mixture of a one-stop versus a two-stop strategy. Sometimes the one-stop works, sometimes the two-stop works. There's no real consistency with that, is there, Tom? I think at the end of the day, it is just down to how each driver performs on the day.
Yeah, and just looking to see what Suttle can do from here, because he needs to get past Vips at the moment. And yeah, he's just going through the left-hander there. He's coming up to where the Rahal Straight is. And there's a fast left-hander he's going to go through, and then up the hill towards the corkscrew. And Vips is right behind Lopez as well here, Topher.
Lopez is right under attack there from Yuri Vips, looking up the road from Adrian Suttle's on board. Vips, don't forget, here he is, was our race winner last time out. It was his debut in the Grand Prix World Series, filling in for Marino Sato at that team. He put it on pole position and he won the race. It was an absolutely fantastic performance from this now 21-year-old Estonian. He turned 21 yesterday. Happy birthday for them, Yuri. He's now in 4th place in this race and looking menacing behind Jose Maria Lopez, looking to make it 2 podiums from 2 races, and ideally maybe even 2 wins, but he'll have a lot to overcome. With Alex Lynn and Helio Castroneves up the road from him, riding on board with Helio right now. Still in the wheel tracks of Alex Lynn, not able to find a way through past a HRT just yet, but he will be biding his time. There's no rush to get past at this moment in time. The pit stop still yet to come. The 2 stoppers, I estimate, Tom, will be around about lap 14. Maybe we'll start to see those come in, and then any 1 stoppers, I'm sure, will be around about the halfway mark.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that, as Lynn looks to fend off. Castroneves behind us, Di Grassi's under threat from the Andrea Moda of Jerome D'Ambrosio. No move there. In case you want to know where Marino Sato is, I believe he's in 18th place. We've just seen Brendan Holly, sorry, not Brendan Holly, it's one of the Force Indians trying to get through. That's Jack Aiken looking to get past Jerome D'Ambrosio, who's holding them up. And from what I've seen so far, Topher, it seems that overtaking seems to be becoming quite a difficulty for the drivers.
I think all the drivers just need to wait for that opportune moment to get the job done. I imagine there will be an opportunity to get a run down into the Andretti hairpin, which is what these guys are coming up to now. Through the kink of turn 1, over the crest, and then downhill braking into turn 2, which is the Andretti hairpin. Alex Lynn setting a new fastest lap, actually pulling away a little bit from Castroneves on that lap. Going around the hairpin now. I reckon that is going to be one of the overtaking opportunities on this track. And maybe someone would fancy an Alex Zanardi style dive bomb into the corkscrew as well at some point in the race. I think we could see a lot of potential around that section of the lap. We ride now on board with Jose Maria Lopez, who is a very real contender for this championship here today, having not won a race this season. Tom, how fitting would it be if Jose Maria Lopez can claim the championship by winning his first race of the season so far? Oh, actually, scratch that, Tom. Gutierrez is off. Gutierrez has crashed into the barrier, and that is the Von Mittel going no further in this race. He looks like he got it all wrong on his own there, coming into turn 3. And there you go, confirmation he's out of the race, a bit more of the car falling off there. And Tom, to me, it looked like Gutierrez just got it all wrong coming into that corner.
Yeah, he just carried too much speed into what was turn 3 it was. And yeah, he's just paid a huge price in going over the curves far too heavily and has paid the price for it. So Esteban Gutierrez ends a difficult season for Von Mittel in the barrier. And he's the 3rd retirement from this one. Just looking to see what Christian Lundgaard can do in 9th place. He's made a decent start to this race, as Lundgaard. Cloney are desperate to end their season on high. It's been a season of struggle, to be quite honest with you, for the Cloney team.
Max Chilton's off. Max Chilton off for the final corner. It looks like he's taken some front wing damage riding over the curb there. He was doing so well riding up there in 10th place within the points for the LaRousse team. We're getting a replay here. Now, what has happened to Chilton? Has he come into contact with someone, or has he gone off on his own coming up to that final corner? Now he's got Lundgaard right in front of him. Looks like he's going to do on his own. Yes, he has. He's got it all locked up into the final corner. Gone for a ride across the curbing and the gravel. Oh, very nearly collecting his teammate, actually. Alexander Rossi on the way back onto the track. That was very close between those two. Will Knight, the team principal of the LaRousse team, I imagine clenching everything at the sides of his 2 cars, very nearly coming together there. And a shame there for Max Chilton, Tom, because that happened right after the pit entry.
Yeah, and he's going to have to do a full lap, and he'll probably have to do an extra stop later on, because it is very early on in the race to be doing a scheduled stop. We're looking to see what Yuri Vips can do with Lopez here. So Max Chilton's got it all to do, and LaRousse, it just sums up the second half of the season for them, doesn't it?
It does indeed. LaRousse started off the season with a 1-2 finish at the Taupo Grand Prix. Callum Eilert winning ahead of Alexander Rossi, setting the benchmark in that race, and everyone's thinking that LaRousse were going to be in for a fantastic season. They took one further victory at the hands of Alexander Rossi at the Yongam Grand Prix. That was round 4 of this championship, but since then, not a lot to write home about. A smattering of points finishes here and there, but LaRousse dropping out of contention for the championship and no longer able to claim it. Will Knight, he has committed to Season 3 with the LaRousse team again. But as for his drivers, yet to make a decision. Max Chilton, before that incident, doing a fine job actually. He did score points at his first race last time out. Oh wait, no, he was on course to score points before having an incident later on in the race. So Chilton getting a lot of speed out of that LaRousse and running into points again here today. As Marino Sato tries to look down the inside there of Alan McNish for P15. Sato coming up from last on the grid up into P16 as we now run a lap 7. Not a bad start to the race so far for the Japanese, Tom. Where can he go from here, do you reckon?
Well, we need to know about strategy for each of the drivers, ideally, so that we can have a look at what he needs to do. We look at Sam Bird, who, over a lap ago, been overtaken by his compatriot Will Stevens for the final point, and he's got the race of Alexander Rossi behind, and then we've got Jake Dennis, Sergei Sorokin, Element Nation, Marino start next up. So, you know, these are for the minor places in the standings, to be quite honest with you. And how would you say, like, the bottom 6 or 7 teams have done for you Topher this season? Because they haven't really scored that consistently over the course of the season. Nowhere near the likes of Lake House Life, HRT and Co.
Well, if I might start with Fon Metal, which is a team at the hands of our Welsh friend Ewan Gale. He went into this championship not taking it at all seriously. He actually had the aim of finishing last in this season, and well, mission accomplished for you, Ewan. They've got 5 points to their name this season, an 8th place finish in Sepang and a 10th place finish in Magny-Cours. Pretty much all of their prize money has gone into the reliability of that car, so they do finish races and pick up the points when they can, but there's absolutely no speed in that Fon Metal in Season 2, and Ewan has already told me that he might take Season 3 a bit more seriously. He's hoping to keep Esteban Gutierrez in the car for Season 3 as well, and there's a couple of names that he's mentioned to me with regards to drivers he wants to hire, but I'll keep those under my hat for now. They'll all get discussed throughout the drivers market. Andrea Moda. Well, speak of Andrea Moda, there's Jerome D'Ambrosio going off the track. Looks like he's done a similar sort of mistake to Esteban Gutierrez earlier on. I don't think he's got any damage to that car. Might have just about got away with that, has the Belgian. Going off the track at turn 3. And I was just about to talk about Andrea Moda, Tom. They've not had the best season either. They've got 20 points to their name this season. And I think it was probably a good move of them to bring on Jake Dennis, who's running very well in 13th place at the moment. He scored points last time out, a 10th place finish for the Englishman. And yeah, Andrea Moda, I think, firmly looking forward towards next season now and hopefully getting some better results. Let's have a quick check of what's going on at the front. Alexander Rossi doing what his teammate did earlier, and he's lucky to not befall the same fate as far as his front wing is concerned. Alexander Rossi now really under attack from Jake Dennis and in the Andrea Moda. Who would have thought this at the start of the season, Tom? LaRousse coming under attack from an Andrea Moda.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, the pace of Rossi at the moment, you know, this season just hasn't quite been at it, you know, in the second half of the campaign. But Lynn still in front of Castroneves, with Lopez and Vips not too far back, so still in 5th. So as it stands, as far as the championship is concerned, Castroneves will be champion. So as Marino Salsa goes to the inside of the Force India of Sergei Sorokin, can't stick there. Yeah,
so
went a bit too
nearly taking off his front wing there. Sorry to cross you, Tom. So nearly losing his front wing on the back of Sergei Sorokin there. Alex Lynn continues in the lead. And what you were saying about the championship just now, Tom, if the maths here is correct, I'm pretty sure it is. If it finishes in this order, Castroneves will beat Adrian Sutil to the title by 1 point. But of course, we still have a long way to go in this race. We're now lap 10, a 6th of the way through the League 2 Laguna Seca Grand Prix. Alex Lynn leads ahead of Helio Castroneves. Jose Maria Lopez we ride on board now with in 3rd place. Will he still have that number 1 on the car next season? We will find out at the end of this contest. Yuri Vips there in 4th place, looking to get another strong result in only his 2nd outing in the Grand Prix World Series. Adrian Sutil, our championship leader, in 5th. 1 more position for him would put him into provisional champion status. But Will Power behind him will have something to say about that as well. Hartley in 7th, Marcus Finkelhock in 8th in the 2nd Europe run, both of them in the top 10. Christian Lundgaard in 9th and Will Stevens in 10th. As Marino Sato having a look down the inside of Sergei Sorokin, and once again coming quite close to the back of that Force India, not able to find a way through. Sorokin defending very well here at the moment.
Yeah, and overtake has been quite difficult so far for the drivers.
A bit of a mistake there for Alex Lynn. Could this be the moment that Helio Castroneves steals the lead off the HRT? Lynn getting it all wrong through the exit of the penultimate corner there. And it looks like he's actually got a good amount of traction off the final corner, stopping Helio from making any sort of advantage of that mistake by the Englishman. And I think Lynn will be wiping his brow at that one, Tom.
Yeah, and yeah, Lynn will be given that wake-up call. Maybe just calm down a little bit after that lock-up into the penultimate turn. by the way, he's carrying on his way. Sato still trying to pass Sorokin. He knows he's got the quicker car than the Force India. Now, could an early pit stop favour Sato? Because we don't know what strategy he's on.
We don't know yet what strategy he is on. Maybe he could try an alternate one-stop strategy to get himself some track position. We will start to see the two stoppers coming in around about lap 14, I predicted earlier. We're not too far away from that point now. And Castroneves has recently taken the fastest lap back off of Alex Lynn, which now puts him 2 points ahead of Adrian Sutil as it stands. As Sato has another look there. Oh, Max Chilton's going off again. Chilton, the second time he's been off and he's hit the barrier. I think he's hit that pretty square on and is lucky to get away with any damage there. I think that's square on into the barrier, meaning he took a force of it on his tyres. And it looks like Max Chilton has indeed got away with that one. He's auditioning for a full-time seat in Season 3, Tom, but he's now been off track twice in this race. That's not going to be a good look for him.
No, definitely not. Will Stevens in 10th place, as you can see. Sember behind. Yeah, Chilton got away with it there and lucky to continue his race anyway. Chances of points are pretty much slim now, but you never know how this race can end up with the... We've had one or two races of attritions this year, particularly in Adelaide, Topher, and in Magny Court.
Indeed. This has been one of the less attritional races so far. 3 drivers out, Scott Speed and Sergio Tete-Camera before turn 2, and Esteban Gutierrez getting it all wrong at turn 3, smashing into the barrier. He's perfectly fine and out of the car and on his way back to the paddock with his tail between his legs, I should imagine. Alex Lynn still under threat here from Helio Castroneves, and then he made a mistake a lap or two ago, but doing a very good job to keep that Leighton House behind him. The two cars quite similarly powered actually. They've got different engines in the back of their car. HRT has Yamaha power while Leighton House has Judd, but in terms of their upgrades they're now quite similar on their power outputs, and more than anything it's down to the driver, and both these drivers are race winners this season. Castroneves in contention for the title and Lynn not so. But can Lynn keep the Brazilian behind him to score his second Grand Prix World Series victory today? We still have a long way to go though. Lap 13 out of 60. We will start to see the two stoppers coming into the pits at any time within the next few laps, and we'll start to see a better picture of how this race might pan out. I'm wondering, Tom, actually, could someone like Adrian Sutil or Will Power maybe try an alternate one-stop strategy to try and make something work in relation to their respective teammates?
It's possible. Just looking at Lynn at the moment as he looks to fend off Castroneves behind, which he has been doing so since the start. As Rossi in 12th place, the camera changed over to him. There's Jake Dennis doing another fine job so far, and Sato did get by Sergei Sorokin in the end. So Sato up into 14th place and going after the Andrea Moda. And look, he's trying to make a move now, look.
Well, we're looking at Alexander Rossi at the moment, but behind him, it looks like Sato might just about to go that move. I'm not sure. He's still alongside him, and now he is ahead of the Japanese driver up into 13th place, and he continues his quest towards the points-paying positions. Sato, he can still win the championship today, but that will require a win and a fastest lap with no points for the drivers ahead of him in the standings. Or a little bit of a lock-up there from Alan McNish. P16 at the moment. He was involved in that incident earlier on that took Sergio Tete-Camera out of the equation. The stewards, I believe, are labelling that as a lap 1 racing incident, so I don't think we'll have any penalties inbound for that action there. And Alan McNish, in my mind, Tom, has been one of the stars of the season, just let down somewhat by the car and its reliability.
Yeah, it's been an unlucky season for McNish. He's just hoping to come away with some points in this last round of the championship. Looking to see how many he's actually finished in the points this season. McNish appears, just looking at it now, he appears to have finished in the points 5 times.
Yes, indeed, 5 times. He took 3rd place at the season opener in Taupo, a great result there for him. And for Scuderia Coloni, his next points came in Yongan with a 10th place, followed up by 6th place at Fuji, and put himself within good standing in the championship at that point in the season, but then went on a barren run of 6 races without scoring a single point. His next points finish coming in Hockenheim when he brought home 4th place, and then got to 7th place at Brno. How is he going to finish the season today? He's down in 12th in the championship before this race. He'll want to get some points on the board, but as it stands, down 16th. not looking likely at the moment, as we now look at Lucas de Grassi there all over the back of Gaston Mazzacane and the Fonmetal. I think that's Jack Aitken right behind them as well. And here we go, Tom, our first pit stop, Marino Sato. So he is on a 2-stop strategy. How is this going to work with regards to getting him up into the points today?
Right, so he needs some track position. Does Sato wants to get out in front of Chilton, ideally. But we'll see what his times are like. As Castroneves still trying to get through. Mazzacane in the pits, also in the Fonmetal. But Castroneves still not close enough. Lopez is in 3rd place ahead of Vips. Will Power in 6th ahead of Brendan Hartley. There's a couple of seconds adrift of Adrian Suttil. And yeah, it's going to come down who's going to be making the first jump into the pits. Will it be Lynn or Castroneves stopping first?
Well, we're coming round to the pit entry now. Are either they going to dive in? No, they carry on for at least another lap. We still don't know if they are 2 stopping or 1 stopping here today. Jose Maria Lopez and Yuri Vips also go on for another lap each. I'm pretty sure Adrian Suttil has as well. Yeah, you could just see him in the background there. He's carrying on for another lap. So Marino Sato, we're not sure where he is on track at the moment. He's not within the top 15 as it stands, but getting a pit stop done early on in this race, a lighter fuel load from the start of the race to help him get through the order up to pretty much the brink of the points. Actually, Tom, he's doing a good job there. Or Alan McNish having another moment there, and he's now got damage. He's done what Max Chilton did earlier on. He's gone for a ride across the curbs, and it's a miserable day so far for the Coloni team and for Alan McNish. They've got Lundgaard in 9th place at the moment, but McNish, much the same as Chilton, Tom, he's done that right past the pit entry. He's going to have to do a whole lap with half a front wing.
Yeah, that's a shame that for McNish. We were saying about his season, it's just got worse for him. Now Sato's past Aitken and D'Ambrosio now, so that's 2 less cars he'll need to pass.
Oh, it's Adrian Suttil slowing down. Adrian Suttil is coming to a stop and he's out of the race. He has a bit of a hit into the barrier, but Adrian Suttil, it's a puncture. I wonder if he's run over some debris from the earlier accident that we had for Speed or Sete Camera, but Adrian Suttil, our championship leader, is out. Tom, this is absolutely disastrous for Adrian Suttil and the HRT team. He now has to rely on the likes of Castroneves, Power and everyone else not scoring any points.
Yeah, that's a really, really body blow. It would almost shades of Nigel Mansell in Adelaide 1986, isn't it? Except it was in the early stages. See what we're locking up there. I don't want to be making too many mistakes like that. But that's a body blow for Adrian Suttil and the HRT team. And, you know, they've just got to hope that Alex Lynn can just fend off Helio Castroneves and hope that bad luck strikes the late house drivers as well as Lopez.
Well, with Helio Castroneves, all he has to do is finish the race where he is, and he will be champion. With Will Power, he won't win the championship with where he is at the moment. He needs to overhaul this man here, his teammate Helio Castroneves. We just cut away to Sato there. Oh, having a bit of a moment on his own, still on the colder tyres there, as he's getting himself up to speed after his pit stop. Sato in P15 at the moment, behind Will Stevens as Castroneves comes into the pits. Now, Alex Lynn has stayed out for another lap here, so this might well be an undercut attempt by the Leighton House team. Tom, talk us through this one.
Right, so it's a 2-stop strategy for Castroneves. Gives his visor a bit of a wipe, so he can have a much clearer view ahead. Off the jacks, and away he goes. 9.5 seconds for Castroneves. Now, where will he feed back out? Because he needs track position. He'll probably be joined behind Sorokin.
Well, Bird has just come into the pits himself. That's one less driver for Castroneves to worry about. Where is he coming out? He is ahead of Rossi and behind Lundgaard. He's actually got himself a good amount of clear air there. So a good call by the Leighton House team to get him in when they did. He's got himself some clear air. He's got fresher tyres. And how is this undercut going to work on Alex Lynn? If he's on a 2-stop strategy as well. Oh, well, Alexander Rossi's race is now run. The LaRousse is on fire. And that is him out of the race. It's a miserable day for Will Knight and the team. Max Chilton in the walls with a curbing earlier on. And Alexander Rossi now out of the Grand Prix with an engine fire. Going from bad to worse for LaRousse. But they will now look forward to Season 3 and hope for another strong season for the French outfit. Jose Maria Lopez now up into P2 by virtue of Castroneves pitting. Now they've gone through the timing beams already. Castroneves 22.7 off the lead, so that tells us... Oh, Christian Lundgaard going for a spin. Lundgaard off the track of the penultimate corner. It's going from bad to worse for the Scuderia Coloni team, and Lundgaard has dropped it out of the points.
Oh, yeah, he's lost the wheel now as well. He's out.
Christian Lundgaard out of the race. What does Gemma Dixon have to do to catch any luck in this championship? She will now look forward to season 3, and there you go, Christian Lundgaard out of the race.
So Lundgaard lost it all by himself, just carried too much speed into the penultimate turn and paid the price. So that's yet another retirement. Alex Lynn out in front. I would say, in terms of the time you need for a pit stop, Topher, I think you need, at the very minimum, 22 seconds, if not 23.
Well, this is absolutely crucial, Tom, because Castroneves has come into the pits already. When he came out of the pits, he was 22.7 behind Alex Lynn. That gap within one lap now down to 21.8, and Lynn is carrying on for another lap here. So this is giving Castroneves effectively the net lead of this race. If Alex Lynn is on a 2-stop strategy, he might well go into a 1-stop strategy here. And Will Power having another moment there. He's pushing really hard to get himself into championship winning contention here today. He can still do it, and he'll want to make sure he can get as much advantage as he can. I was thinking earlier, Tom, maybe he's on that alternate 1-stop strategy. We haven't seen that confirmed yet. We don't know what his digital readout is saying. Will Power not in position to win the championship at the moment, and with Castroneves now putting in a fastest lap again, I kind of feel as though that Will Power and maybe this guy here, Jose Maria Lopez, might have to try something a bit different here today.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the only way for them to do it. Jose Maria Lopez needs to get in front of Castroneves. He's in front of Power. Now he's just got to get in front of Castroneves in some way to take the World Championship in League 2. As D'Ambrosio looks to try and get past the Real there. Can't quite tell who that is. Can't recognise whether it's Conway or Turvey. But it's pretty much a challenging situation for Lopez, even though he's in second place on the road. And Sato's now up to 10th, so he's up into the points. He's behind Will Stevens' Modena.
Right, Alex Lynn is now coming into the pits, so this is absolutely crucial for the race lead. Castroneves, I believe, has done enough to undercut the HRT here. The undercut proving to be quite strong. Looking at the gap between Lynn and Castroneves, Lopez following him into the pits as well. So we're watching to see where Helio Castroneves is going to be. There's going to be a 2-stop strategy for Lynn. And the time is 8.9. It's 0.6 of a second faster than what Leighton House were able to achieve with Castroneves. Will Power's gone through into the lead of this race. He's going on for at least another lap. Now, where is Castroneves? Lynn is coming out to the pits. Castroneves, another fastest lap, and there he goes. The undercut has worked for Leighton House. Alex Lynn surrenders the net race lead. Castroneves now into what should be the lead of the race once Will Power comes into the pits. Brilliant job there from Leighton House to get him in when they did and get him out into clear air.
That was a good stop from, well, it was a better stop from HRT, but not enough for Lynn to maintain what is effectively the race lead. As Will Power, well, he's got to go like clockwork now, hasn't he? I would say he's probably going to be doing the 1-stop here, Topher.
I would not be surprised if he is. We did say earlier on he might need to try something different to overhaul that deficit in the championship. He's got one less driver to worry about now with Adrian Suttle suffering that puncture earlier on, and he will now be hoping and praying that his rivals also fall by the wayside and drop out of this race. He'll be sitting on that pit wall alongside John Moreau, biting all of the nails off of his fingers, I'm sure, maybe even his toes if he's that flexible. Will Power continues on for another lap here, Tom. I'm thinking he might well be doing that 1-stop strategy here, but could that work out later on? Because of course it means you're putting more strain onto tyres, so we'll be degrading a lot more than the 2-stoppers around him.
It's an interesting point you've made there, Topher. Just looking at McNish, who is he behind at the moment? He's outside the top 15. Yeah, he's just fighting for pride at the moment now by the looks of things. But yeah, Will Power, I would say, is going to be doing that 1-stop now. I think if he's got any hope of winning the championship, I think the 1-stop is the way to go.
And one thing that's gone under the radar is Jose Maria Lopez maintaining his advantage over Yuri Vips. Vips came into the pits a couple of laps earlier than the Eurobron, but not able to make that undercut work, and he stays behind the Argentine driver, still in contention for this championship as well. There is Will Power, who, as it stands now, would win the championship, but he has yet to come into the pits, so we still don't know how the one-stop strategy will stack up against the two-stop strategy. 4.5 seconds a gap between Power and Casheneves. And yeah, look at that, Tom. You can visually see just how powerful that undercut was for Helio Casheneves. And Oliver Turvey now going around the outside of Zach Speed. Does the Zach Speed have a problem? Yeah. I think that's Lucas Di Grassi who's slowing down there. He's now surrendered position to one of the 14s. No, sorry, so Scuderia Coloni there. I think that might have been a loose wheel for Di Grassi, actually. Oh, Hartley's gone off as well. So he's gone off at the penultimate corner, just keeping it out of the barrier there, but he's now got to wait for the traffic to come through. Hartley running up in P7 at the time, I think it was, but he's now dropping down out of the order. This is going to be pure pain for the Pacific driver. Got it all wrong on his own. He now continues on track, down in P12, dropping out of the points there. Not a good move there from the Kiwi, who wants to secure a drive for next season. He's had a good season since joining Pacific as Hartley, but that will not be a good shade on him at all. He picked up a podium in Istanbul, and that one mistake, Tom, I don't think they'll paint too bad a shade on Brendan Hartley in the eyes of Carter McColman, if I'm honest.
No, and I think Carter McColman will be happy to keep Hartley for next season. You can see the Zach Speed there. That looks like Lucas Di Grassi coming into the pits.
So whatever problem there was for Di Grassi, he's come into the pits to get that sorted. A simple control alt delete on the car, and he should be back on his way, but not in contention for the points at the moment. Will Stevens under pressure now from Marino Sato and cutting across the front wing of the Japanese driver there through turn 5. That one run through the corkscrew. Sato has lost a bit of ground to Will Stevens through that, but he will pick himself back up, get up to the back of that Modena again. And Sato's putting an absolutely fantastic performance here, Tom. It has to be said. Started P26 and last by virtue of a back of the grid penalty he picked up at the Brno Grand Prix. He sat out Buenos Aires while the team evaluated Yuri Vips, who actually won that race. It was a brilliant performance from the Estonian. Sato now back in the car and has gone from P26 to P9. Brilliant drive so far from the Life car.
Brilliant performance from Sato, and can he get even better for him? He is on a two-stop strategy, remember, so he will be pitting again. He needs to try and get past Will Stevens if he can, though, because he's starting to be held up by the Modena.
So the gap between Will Power and Helio Casheneves down to 2.5 seconds. Casheneves making those fresher tyres work as he chases down his teammate. And you know we don't like to see teammates fighting each other too hard, but this is for the championship. It is absolute pride between those two as Marino Sato looking down the inside of Stevens, and again Stevens cutting across the front of the Life car there. Sato not able to find a way through into P8. Just looking at the different permutations here for the championship, Tom. Between Power and Casheneves, let's say they do finish first and second in this race, I believe whoever finishes ahead of the other out of those two will be champion. That's, of course, hypothetically, should it finish this way.
Yeah, Hartley, who after that mistake is down in 12th position. Sergei Sorokin in the 14 is ahead of him. Sorokin's had a decent race so far. I think he is on the one-stop strategy, is the Russian, so it won't be too long before he pits in. One driver we've not spoken about that much is Marcus Fingerhock, who's in 6th place, who's another one of those I believe is going to be doing the one-stop.
Also another one-stopper I think coming out of this race, Jake Dennis, running in 10th place in the Andrea Moda at the moment. Scored his first point in the Grand Prix World Series last time out in Buenos Aires. A fantastic job there in that Andrea Moda, which is woefully underpowered this season, but Jake Dennis able to extract as much as he could out of the car, and he picked up a point for his efforts. Now on course to double his tally with that 10th place finish. Can he get another point for Lewis Bassendale and the team here today? That one-stop strategy, seemingly a popular choice, more popular than some of the other races we've seen, Tom. That's at least 3 or 4 drivers who are trying to get out here today.
Yep, we're just seeing Vips is in 5th place. He's got the gap down to less than 10 seconds between himself and the race leader, so can he come into play for the race win later on as Max Chilton dives to the inside of what is Jerome D'Ambrosio to go up into 18th position.
Max Chilton trying to make up for lost time earlier on after his 2 excursions through the gravel. He did have to pit for a replacement front wing, and now on the back foot as he makes up positions, trying to get himself back towards the top 10 if he can. Casheneves now down to 1 point front. Oh, as Chilton had another off there. It looked like we might have gone for a bit of a jump across the corkscrew there. We only caught the rear end of that, and Chilton still continuing. I hope he doesn't have any damage to his car. He doesn't come into the pit, so I think he's all right. But Tom, to me, that looked like he'd just gone for a bit of a ride over the curbs then.
It did, but nothing too harmful there, as Power is now under threat from Castroneves. Now he needs to keep him behind to stay in contention for the race win. Now the good news for Will Power is that Marcus Finkelhock is 25 seconds behind and he's yet to pit. So by the time Power comes in, he'll have a lot of clear air before Lynn and Castroneves come in for their final stops, as well as Lopez and Vips.
One person to keep an eye out for here is Alex Lynn. He will know that his teammate Adrian Suttle is out of this race. And Lynn's job now, he's not in contention for the championship, so the only thing he can now do is make sure that he takes every point he can off of that Leighton House duo, and that will include trying to get his way into the lead of this race. And he's keeping up with Helio Castroneves at the moment as they chase down Will Power. But Castroneves, as we know, Tom, he's a very difficult customer to overtake. And Lynn, he will be trying his darndest to get back past the Leighton House duo into the lead of this race. But I think that is easier said than done.
Yeah. And look and see what the gap is. 1 second between Power and Castroneves now. Lynn 8/10 behind the Brazilian. And I think Lopez and Vips will be closing on those guys now. Vips just over 9 seconds off. So at the moment for Will Power, it's looking good for him, but he will need to put some fast ups. You can see Rainer so dive into the inside there of Will Stevens. Doesn't quite make it stick and falls further behind him again. But this has been a sterling performance from Sato.
That particular corner there, turn 5, it's not really a likely overtaking spot. It's a fast-flowing left-hander where you'd really need to be up the inside already going into the corner. But Reno Sato, it seems to me like he's put on a bet with one of his team mechanics, saying, I bet you I can complete an overtake into turn 5 today, because he's trying so hard to get it done. He tried on Sergei Sorokin earlier on, about maybe 5 laps before he got that done, finally. Now he's trying it on Will Stevens, and all of his overtaking chances seem to be coming at this place here, turn 5. Not able to get a job done on Stevens, he's more than equal to that opportunity, is the Modena. But this is the battle we want to be looking at. I think it is now absolutely certain, Tom, that Will Power is on that one-stop strategy. We're on lap 28 out of 60 here today. Power not yet to pit, trying the alternate strategy. Will that pay dividends as he chases the title? Now Sam Bird's here, Tom. 7th place for the Zaxby. They must be getting nosebleeds up there, because that's the highest the Zaxby has run for a very long time.
Yeah, it's the highest that Sam Bird has been since Japan, where he finished second, I think it was. He got past Verts on the last lap, didn't he, to get up into second. So this has been by far Bird's best performance since the 3rd round of the season. It must be like a long time ago for him.
And this is coming at a crucial time as far as Mike Smith is concerned as well, the team principal of the Zaxby team. He will be continuing into Season 3 with the Zaxby outfit, and he's weighing up his options for drivers. It's known that he likes both of his drivers, Sam Bird and Lucas Di Grassi, and there is every chance he will continue with those two, but he is looking at options elsewhere. Just keeping his options open, thinking about what could be the best move for the Zaxby team, and Sam Bird here putting in a fine performance if he wants to keep that seat going into Season 3.
Now here's an interesting question for Power. When will he decide to pit in? Because he's coming up to a back marker now. That is the Andrea Moda of Jerome D'Ambrosio. Just thinking how many back markers he is going to need to overtake before he pits in. I shouldn't think he needs to overtake more than one. We'll find out soon enough anyway. Castroneves in 2nd place. Really, really under threat now from Lynn again. So Lynn needs to try and pass him if he can and, you know, put the Leighton House under pressure here. But even if Castroneves was to finish in 2nd place and Will Power finishing 3rd, that would be enough for Castroneves to take the title. As Stevens so he's about to be overtaken by Sato. No, he keeps him behind again. This has been a brilliant effort from Stevens in a Modena which has been off the pace this season, but he's most certainly outperformed the machine itself, most certainly outperforming his teammate Scott Speed.
Absolutely, he's using the karting line around turn 5 to hold on to that P8, as Brendan Harley all very nearly getting alongside Sergei Sorokin there towards a corkscrew, but the Russian driver keeping hold of the position for now as they drop down what's effectively a skyscraper's worth of storage there. It's such a steep drop, is the corkscrew. It takes a lot out of the drivers in terms of their stomach. They really feel it through their body as they drop down through that corkscrew section, but it is an absolute favourite amongst the drivers. They love that challenge. As Max Chilton having a look there at Mike Conway in the Real and lost a lot of momentum trying to get past there into turn 6. He'll want to try and find a bit of a difference overtaking place around this lap. Alex Lynn's looking very menacing here, actually. They're right up to the back of Will Power now. We're on lap 30. I imagine Will Power will probably pit this lap to make sure he's not held up by the Andrea Moda of Jerome D'Ambrosio. They're coming up to the pit entry now. And is Will Power going to pull into the pits for what will be his one and only pit stop? No, he's not yet. He goes on for another lap here. If I was Leighton House, Tom, I would have brought that car in now because of the amount of back markers they're coming up to. I think there's about 3 cars in front of him, and Will Power won't want to be stuck in that traffic for too long.
No, and neither will Castroneves, because Lynn's all over the back of him now, so it shouldn't take too long for Power to dispose of D'Ambrosio. Just wait to see when he goes for the move. He goes for it now before turn 4, and he gets through fine, so he's through, but Castroneves is going to be held up though. He's got to be careful and watch for Lynn as well.
Well, maybe this is actually a little bit of a stroke of genius from Will Power here, using the traffic to his advantage to build up a gap to these guys, because there's now Jerome D'Ambrosio in between them. Castroneves is going to try and get down the inside in his 5, and he gets the job done here. Will Power pulling a little bit more of a gap now, so maybe actually just using that to his advantage to make sure that he can get as much gap as possible. Castroneves through past that back mark, and now Alex Lynn not quite passing yet. Oh, Mazzacane looks like he's been for a bit of a hop across the corkscrew there. He continues on in 14th place. Another good drive from Natal at the moment. They've had an absolutely awful car this season, and Mazzacane up there in P14 could maybe score some points if there's any attrition up ahead of him into this race. I don't think they get any on merit at this point in the season. A gap now between Power and Castroneves, 1 second. And if Castroneves was to hold on to that advantage over Will Power, it would be a gap of 5 points in the favour of the Brazilian. So between those two Leighton House drivers, it is effectively whoever finishes ahead of the other will be champion. But where is Power going to filter out when he comes in for his pit stop? And Mike Conway trying to get out of the way here. There's a lot of traffic here, Tom. They're trying to filter their way through. Will Power still has not come in for his pit stop. Surely he needs to get in now to avoid all of this and avoid any potential danger.
Well, if he pits now, he'll rejoin well ahead of Winkelhock anyway, so he's okay with regards to traffic. So nothing to worry him for Will Power, just as long as he stays ahead of Castroneves and Lynn. But he's got a fight in his hands to claw back the gap before the likes of Castroneves and Lynn come in, and that's the point, Topher. By the time Power comes in, Castroneves and Lynn are going to always see Mazzacane going over the curb with the corkscrew, and he's okay, got away with it again. Then going back to my point, by the time Will Power does come in, Castroneves and Lynn are going to be suffering with all that traffic. So this will play into the Leighton House driver's hands at the moment. Now, does Will Power decide to pit in at the end of this lap?
Well, wait and see if he does come into pits. No, he hasn't. He's still continuing. We have a lot of traffic here. Alex Lynn trying to take advantage and get down the inside of Castroneves there. He backs out of it, I think, rather sensibly at this point in the race. I think their main concern right now, as we run on lap 33 out of 60, is making sure they navigate this traffic as safely and as efficiently as possible. Oh, Will Power getting massively held up there by Oliver Turvey in the Real. There aren't any blue flags. They're not under obligation to get out of the way. It's more of a gentleman's agreement than anything in the Grand Prix World Series. But Will Power now through past Turvey, and Alex Lynn has a colonie between himself and Castroneves. As Winkelhock's going off there from P6. Oh, I think he's just got away without any damage there. Winkelhock giving even more gap to Will Power when he comes in for his pit stop there. I think Power will safely come out in P5, but two people this is actually benefiting at the moment, Tom. Jose Maria Lopez and Yuri Vips, they've closed right in on this battle between the top three. 5.5 seconds now covering the top 5, and Power now has a gap of 2 seconds to Castroneves. This is throwing everything up into the air, Tom.
It is, and Power, I would say they need to bring Power in now. So Power needs to come in and take his pit stop. I think the problem he's going to have is getting through the back markers on his second stint. Just seeing what looks like Marcus Winkelhock just going through turns 5 and 6, and then this is they've gone through the Rahal straight, and now he's coming up towards the corkscrew.
And Will Power has continued on for another lap. He's gone very heavy on his first stint, and looks like he's going to go a bit lighter in his second stint, maybe to help try and pick his way through the traffic with a lighter fuel load. It's now lap 34 laps into the League 2 Laguna Seca Grand Prix without making a pit stop. Will Power really tried to make an impact here. He's got 2.1 seconds over his teammate Helio Castroneves. That might be about as big as that gap is going to get. Will Stevens now into pits for what should be his one and only pit stop. That releases Marino Sato into P8, and he will now chase down Sam Bird for P7. I don't think he'll spend too long getting up to the back of that Zach speed, but as we've seen already, Tom, catching is one thing, overtaking definitely another.
Yeah, Lynn is in third place there. He's dropped back now from Castroneves, which is good for Castroneves and for Power actually. So does Will Power decide to pit in at the end of this lap? We'll wait and see. I think he may as well, to be honest with you, unless you've just seen a couple of drivers going into the pits as well. That Will Stevens just coming out of the pits, Jack Aiken, and Power is in.
Here we go, Will Power, our race leader, into the pit behind Max Chilton. He's on a one-stop strategy, not withholding his pit earlier on in this race with damage. So Will Power, 28 laps of fuel. He is indeed going to the end of the Grand Prix. We believe he will come out in 5th place. He's a long way ahead of Marcus Winkelhoff. What's the time going to be? 8.6 is a really good pit stop from the Leighton House team. They have been absolutely fantastic this season, have the Leighton House mechanics, and they've done another good job there. Could this be a championship winning pit stop for Will Power? How is that one-stop strategy going to play out later on in this race? Oh, there's so much to talk about in this, Tom. It's absolutely exhilarating what's gone on so far. Helio Castroneves leads the Grand Prix, and as it stands, he would win the championship. Alex Lynn in second, hoping to get every point away from Leighton House as possible, because teammate Adrian Suttle, championship leader, out of this race, and he needs the Leighton Houses to not score in this race, and Lopez to not score either. Lopez running in third place at the moment, less than 3 seconds behind Alex Lynn at the moment, and on course for what would be yet another podium this season. I think that'd be his 7th or 8th podium this season for Jose Maria Lopez. And Sam Bird pulling out to the side of the circuit, and he is out of the Grand Prix. He was doing so well for the Zaxby team, running to a one-stop strategy in an attempt to get some points for the German team, and it's all come to naught for Sam Bird in a ball of flames. He's out in a blaze of glory, and it looks like it's going to be no points for Zaxby today. That's an absolute shame. As Castroneves is into the pits, actually, Tom, is this scheduled or is this forced? Because I think it's a little bit early for a second pit stop here, unless he's trying to get into some clear air, same as Will Power here.
That's a very interesting call there, unless it is an early change, unless he's come in with some form of, I don't know, like a throttle problem or something. But he's come back out now, nearly into the path of the Leighton House of Max Chilton. So Castroneves has got with it all to do, and Will Power has crucially completed what is effectively an undercut on him. So Castroneves has got to pass Will Power to take the title.
Now, this is really interesting, because Castroneves, I think that might have been an enforced pit stop, because Power came in on the last lap, and he's on a one-stop strategy. Castroneves on a two-stop strategy. He came in on lap 14 earlier on, and I would have thought with a second stop he would have come in like maybe around about lap 45, 46, round about sort of time, so in another 10 laps time. But as it stands now, there's now only 1 lap difference in tyres between Castroneves and Power, so effectively, Tom, this has just handed the advantage to Will Power.
Yeah, and Will Power is, very much back in the chase here now. Depends on what Lynn and Lopez decide to do. I'm thinking about it, when Lynn and Lopez do come in, as well as Vips, going to be on fresher tyres towards the end of the race.
I've just heard from the Leighton House team that there was a scheduled pit stop, so no problem with the Leighton House car. That was to strategy for the team. But it's put Power and Castroneves together on track, 3.4 seconds of difference, and between those two it will be a straight fight towards the checkered flag. Jose Maria Lopez is now running second. He's still in contention for this title, don't forget, and I believe he will have to come in for another pit stop of his own. That would drop him behind the Leighton House duo. And what is Alex Lynn going to be doing? He's very much in contention for the race win here today. And Lucas Di Grassi, he's just getting lapped there by Will Power, the sole remaining Zach speed in this race. down in P16 at the moment. It's not a good day for Zaxby. They were running so well earlier on with Sam Bird up there in the points. His race ended in a ball of fire. And now Lopez is into the pits as well, so maybe some earlier second pit stops coming in here, Tom. And Alex Lynn also in as well. And Vips as well. So the top three all pitting. This is going to put the Leighton House duo into first and second, I believe. But where is Lynn going to come out in relation to Power and Castroneves? I think he will still be behind them. And then it's just a straight run to the flag with about 22 laps left to go in the League 2 Laguna Seca Grand Prix.
So Power is through and Castroneves should go through as well. And he is. So Castroneves up into second, but with Will Power leading, it will be the Australian taking the title today in League 2.
And it would also be Leighton House taking the team's title here today, but we still have a long way to go. Anything can happen in the Grand Prix World Series, and it usually does, to paraphrase the late, great Murray Walker. Will Power in the lead of this race, 3 seconds over Castroneves. The gap came down by a tenth in that last sector. So, all the pit stops in the front runners playing out at this moment in time. Power in the lead, Castroneves in second, Alex Lynn in third, Yuri Vips fourth, and Marino Sato from last to fifth. He's put in such a great drive here today, and that could be some good points for the Life team, who are already confirmed as going up into League 1 for next season. It's now all about the championship for those teams. But with Sato in fifth, Vips in fourth, they will get a good amount of points, but not as many as Leighton House, who run first and second. It could end up being a perfect day for Leighton House on the day that they could clinch both championships. But as we're about to start lap 38 out of 60, we still have 22 laps left to go. Anything can happen, Tom.
Anything can happen, and just thinking about where Sato will end up after his final pit stop, it's going to be touch and go with Will Stevens. And remember, Stevens did pit just a few laps ago, so he'll be on fresher tyres. So Sato's going to have his work cut out when he comes out of the pit and having to fend off the Modena. Sato pits now.
Okay, so into the pits from 5th place, he surrenders that position to Jose Maria Lopez. And where is he going to come back out into traffic? He will be on fresher tyres. And Alex Lynn there in P3, I don't think he's going to have much chance of winning this race now. 4.8 seconds off the lead. He might need to rely on some mistakes or attrition from the two in front of him. But Alex Lynn, I think he's definitely doing enough to secure his HRT seat into Season 3 as they face the prospect of League 1 next season. Alex Lynn, a race winner this season. John Monroe, he was questioned at first, Tom, because this was in replacement for Dario Franchitti, who was doing a good job. He was getting better and better with every weekend. John Monroe made that decision to bring in Alex Lynn in his place, and Lynn went and got a race win and has helped the team get promotion up to League 1 for next season. I think that's an absolute slam dunk to keep Lynn alongside Sutton for next season.
Yeah, I agree with that as well, and Alex Lynn's going to have a bright future ahead of him in the Grand Prix World Series, especially in League 1 next season if HRT were to keep him. So, look, we've seen a few more drivers heading into the pit lane, and Sato did get out in front of Stevens, so Sato was able to complete an overcut on the Modena, so Sato up into 7th place. In the light, the next man up from him is Marcus Winkelhock.
So we saw that the undercut worked earlier on, and now it seems like the overcut has worked. Tyre performance playing a big part in this race, but don't forget that that life car is massively overpowered in comparison to that Modena. And Modena, I'd say, is about average for this league, Tom, but the life car, they've had so much money put into the engine of that car that they do have very fast machinery at their disposal, and Marino Sato making every use of that as he stays ahead of Will Stevens, now running in P7, chasing down Marcus Winkelhock for P6. And where will Sato end up at the end of this race, I wonder?
We'll see as we look at the Force India there of Aiken, who's in 12th place, Sorokin ahead of him in 11th, Sorokin right behind Jake Dennis as well. So can Force India end their season with both cars in the points? Brendan Hartley is 9th despite that spin he had earlier on. Will Stevens 8th, Marino Sato 7th, Marcus Winkelhock in 6th, so both Eurobronze are in the top 6. Which is something we haven't said too much this season.
No, the Eurobronze are doing a very good job here today. They have had a very good season overall, and they are set to finish 4th in the standings, just missing out on promotion into League 1. But David Yunt, I think, will still be very satisfied with how his drivers have done this season. especially Jose Maria Lopez, who has not won a race this season, but has just been extremely consistent and scored points at almost every round he's contested. He started off the season pretty poorly, actually. He took pole position for Taupo, but that was his only points within the first 3 races amongst a slew of retirements. But once he started to get the results, those results were all really strong ones, a lot of podiums to the Argentine's name. And I do wonder, Tom, if he hadn't have had those retirements at the start of the season, might he be our champion today?
It's very tough to say, to be honest with you. I mean, he would have had a fight on his hands with Castaneves, Power and Lopez. I mean, Lopez is, I think he's still not able to get in front of Vips at the moment. He's quite some way behind him now, so it's going to be pretty much a straight fight between Power and Castaneves for the championship now, I would think, unless both of them were to trip over themselves.
Well, as it stands right now, if Will Power wins the race, he will have 156 points. Castaneves with second, he will have 147 points. They would both surpass the 135 points, which is held by Adrian Sutil at the moment, who will score no points today, a puncture earlier on, putting an end to the Germans' charge towards the championship. He will be praying so hard that both the Leighton House drivers and Lopez fall out of this race. But as it stands, Will Power will be taking the championship. It's lap 42 out of 60 low. We're not at the end yet. There is Will Power putting a lap on. I think that was Jack Aitken who's just getting past there. And Castaneves is actually closing in on Will Power at the moment. The gap is down to 1.5 seconds between these two. This isn't over until it's over, Tom. These two will duke it out until the end, until that checkered flag falls.
Yeah, absolutely. As Castaneves puts a lap on the Force India, and it won't be too long before Alex Lynn gets by, although he's going to get held up though by the Force Indias. This is not what Lynn needs in order to overhaul the Leighton House cars. Yeah, he's going to be stuck behind him for another couple of corners before he does get by him on the pit straight.
So the gap now between Will Power and Helio Castaneves is down to 1 second. Castaneves doing everything he can to reel in his Australian teammate. The gap now back up to 1.3 seconds. Alex Lynn has negotiated his way past Jack Aitken. And to be fair to Lynn, Tom, he's keeping those Leighton House drivers honest at the moment. He's less than 3 seconds off the back of Will Power. Maybe just biding his time with his tyres and trying to get a bit of a performance advantage towards the end of this race. As Jose Maria Lopez, and there goes his teammate, Marcus Finkelhock is off. Now he's hit the barrier, but has he got away without any damage there? It looks like he might have dropped that all on his own. That corner is proving to be quite tricky for quite a few drivers, and looks like he's struggling to get that car out of the gravel trap here. Just about finding the traction over the pebbles there, and can he get this going again? He's dropped down out of the points now. And there we go, he's back going again, but that will be a disaster for Marcus Finkelhock, running in P6 before that spin, and now dropping down to P11. Not a good shade on the Eurobrun driver there, as David Yont is weighing up his options for Season 3.
Yeah, that moves Sergei Sorokin up into the points. Jake Dennis up to 9th now in the Andrea Moda.
A very good job there from Jake Dennis. He's also on a one-stop strategy here today. It seems like one stopper is the way to go here today, Tom. Will Power's made it work to get himself up into the lead of this race. Jake Dennis is up into P9 in the Andrea Moda, and Sorokin up into P10 in the Force India. We often see different strategies playing out amongst the different races within the Grand Prix World Series. And usually, Tom, I think it's fair to say that it's a two-stop strategies that usually work out. But this race seems to be one of those where it's a one-stop strategy that's paying dividends.
Yeah, we've just seen McNish pull off a move here on Mike Conway. Can't quite make the move stick into the Andretti hairpin. And so Conway stays in front. And Sato, with Finkelhock's spin, that moves him up a place. Next man up from him is Jose Maria Lopez, who's 17 seconds in front of him.
As it stands, Marino Sato would not be winning the championship, so at the moment just racing for pride to try and secure himself a seat for Season 3. Andrew Sampson, the team boss of the Life outfit, now with a little bit of a headache, I should imagine, thinking about what to do with his drivers, because he brought in Yuri Vips to evaluate him ahead of Season 3. He went and won the last time out to join Marino Sato. This is battle for the lead here. Castaneves nearly getting the move done there on Will Power. Now, we've got a replay. They're quite far behind this point, and Will Power has gone wide, and that has allowed Castaneves to get down the inside for an opportunity there into final corner. Will Power just about keeping a move there, very nearly cutting over the front wing of Cassia Neves there. That was very close. I imagine Chris Cavney clenching every part of his body at that one. And Will Power now very much up against it with his hard-charging Brazilian teammate right behind him. And Tom, this is not just for a race victory. This is for the championship.
Yeah, this is very much Power versus Cassia versus Suttil now for the championship. Although, if Power and Cassia take each other out, that hands the advantage to Lopez. Because even though he's running in 5th place, he would gain 2 positions, wouldn't he? And that would be enough for him to take the title.
I think it would be, yes. I think you're spot on with that, Tom. So, I think for Chris Cavney's sake, let's hope these 2 Leighton House drivers do not take each other out. But we know what can happen within the Grand Prix World Series. It is more than possible. These 2, there is a title at stake. They both want it. Both of them would deserve it. They both came in mid-season, actually. Will Power came into the team from the Yongan Grand Prix Round 4 in place of Robert Wickens, who started the season for Leighton House. And then 3 rounds later, Kyle Lamy, Cassia Neves came in to replace Alexander Wurz. Won 2 races on the trot and followed that up with another victory in Brno to put himself firmly into championship contention. Both of these guys have been absolute revelations coming in for their first crack within the Grand Prix world. And can either of them go and get the championship here today? It is Power versus Cassia Neves versus Suttil for this championship, versus Lopez as well, should anything happen to the Leighton House drivers. We have 15 laps left to go here in the League 2 race. And strap into your seats, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be mega right until the end.
Very mega indeed. Lynn is in 3rd place. He's waiting for a mistake from either Cassia Neves or Power to move up a position. Vips isn't too far behind either. He's another 6 seconds adrift of this battle. If they continue fighting, Vips will close in even more.
It looked like Will Power just had a very slight wobble there through turn 6 as he tries to build up that advantage over Helio Cassia Neves again. Cassia Neves looks like he has actually dropped a little bit off the back of Will Power now. He got right up to the back of him on the last lap as Will Power made that mistake through the corner that he is about to come through now. Not making the same mistake this time around. I think he will have calmed down a little bit.
Right, Lynn is through.
Cassia Neves has made the mistake that Will Power made on the last lap, and Alex Lynn through into 2nd position, and that changes the battle for the championship. Alex Lynn trying to do everything that he can to take points off the Leighton House drivers, and Cassia Neves trying to get up to the back of Will Power again, making that mistake, and Alex Lynn capitalising to go through into 2nd place. Cassia Neves will be kicking himself inside the Leighton House, because if he now wants to win this championship, he doesn't have to overtake 1 car, he has to overtake 2 cars.
Yeah, unless they make mistakes, of course, which is highly unlikely. We've seen what this race has been, and looking to see how far Vips is behind. He's 7.9 off the lead at the beginning of the lap. It's the same by sector 1 as well. So yeah, it was a terrible mistake there from Cassia Neves. He just carried a bit too much speed into the penultimate turn, got on the curb, got on the dirty stuff, and he just ended up falling behind Lynn through all that. So that allows Lynn to go up into 2nd position, and he'll be on fresher tyres slightly than Will Power will be, I should think.
I think I've lost count of how many drivers turn 10 has caught out in this race. Will Power made a mistake there earlier, and we've just seen the same from Helio Cassia Neves. Christian Lundgaard earlier on in this race, he crashed out at that particular corner. Max Chilton, I think, has been off there as well. Alan McNish, I think, made a mistake there as well. I'm trying to remember which drivers haven't gone off, actually, because a fair few of them have been in the wars within the gravel tracks. As we look at Jerome D'Ambrosio now, all over the back of Oliver Turvey, these 2 former rivals within the world of Formula E, now racing each other within the Grand Prix World Series. And with one Andrea Moda up there in the points, I bet that Jerome D'Ambrosio is wishing he was that far up through the field as well, Tom.
Just looking at Marcus, I think that's Marcus Vinkoff who riding on board with us as a rear wing view. He'll be ruining that mistake earlier on. And Lopez at the moment is 10 seconds behind Vips now. Vips has got the gap down to 8.1 seconds between himself and the race lead. So he's beginning to wheel them in a little bit again by the looks of things, is Vips. So just looking at his sector times now as he goes through sector 2. And it's 8.1 seconds. So do keep an eye out on Vips's lap time, Topher, and we'll see how he gets on in terms of within a minute. Never's in third. Oh, and you were going to say something?
I was just about to say, we just saw Max Chilton attempt an overtake there on Jack Hagan. Oh, we've got an Andrea motor blowing up. Which one is that? It's Jerome D'Ambrosio. We were just talking about it briefly there. His race has now come to an end. As that engine expires, you can see there on the readout, it is an engine problem for the Belgian, and that is his season run. What will Lewis Bassendale do with Jerome D'Ambrosio as far as the season 3 season is concerned? Because to be fair, I don't think D'Ambrosio has done that bad a job, Tom. But since Jake Dennis came in, I think Jerome D'Ambrosio has somewhat been shown up by his British teammate.
Yeah, I would say D'Ambrosio has been better than Valentino Rossi, Vincenzo Sospili and Taki Inoue on merit, so I think D'Ambrosio deserves another chance in the Andrea Moda next season, unless someone else wants him. But Will Power is in first place still and on course to win the championship as it stands. Just looking to see if he's got any back markers coming up. It doesn't look as though he has. The next one up from his Winkelhocker is about 5 or 6 seconds up the road.
So no dramas at the moment for the Australian in the lead of this race and set to win the championship. About to start lap 49 out of 60. There'll be 12 laps to go here in the League 2 Laguna Seca Grand Prix, and D'Ambrosio now pulls off to the side of the circuit. His race is run, his season is run. He joins Sam Bird in the gravel trap, and that is an end to what has been a miserable half season for the Belgian. Not really too much to write home about. He picked up 1 points finish at the Birmingham Super Prix. That was an 8th place finish, but in those 9 races that he has contested, that 8th place finish was only one of 2 actual classified finishes. He also retired from the Brno Grand Prix, but did far enough to be classified in P17. So effectively, Tom, 9 races for D'Ambrosio and only 1 finish, that being in the points.
Yeah, and D'Ambrosio, we're hoping for better luck next season, wherever he will be. There's Will Power, he's 1.5 seconds in front now, ahead of Lim. Never's not too far behind. There's confirmation of D'Ambrosio's exit from this race. Sato is 18 seconds off Lopez. I think he got stuck behind back markers, did Sato, hence why he's dropped back a little bit now from the Euro run. But he's done a sensational job to get himself up to where he is in 6th place. And looking down the lower end of the points, Brendan Hartley back up to 7th now, Will Stevens 8th, Jake Dennis in the sole surviving Andrea Moda in 9th, Sergei Sorokin on course for a championship point in 10th.
Just looking at the different gaps here, Tom, we've got the obvious battle for 1st, 2nd and 3rd, 2.8 seconds covering those guys. But then there's only 1.1 seconds behind Will Stevens and Jake Dennis. So Dennis may be fancying a move here into P8. Just going to see what the gap is through the next sector. And it's still 1.1. So the gap remaining fairly stagnant between Stevens and Dennis. So maybe a little bit of late drama coming our way between those two. But here is your race leader, or there was your race leader. We're now looking at Helio Castroneves in P3. Not really getting back up to the rear of that HRT again. I would have thought he put that incident behind him to get back up to that HRT and challenge for P2, but actually, Tom, he's falling away from the back of the HRT team here, and it looks like Castroneves may be looking a little bit resigned to his fate at the moment.
Yeah, he's got to hope that, bad luck strikes on his teammate in order for him to win the championship. So it's just a matter of who gets in front wins the championship now. Although Lynn is not fighting for the championship, he's fighting for his future at HRT, which, in what we've seen from him, he's done a terrific job. I'd be very surprised if John Munro was to sever his links with the Brit.
I'm fairly certain that John Munro will continue on with his driver pairing of Adrian Sittle and Alex Lynn into next season, but it is his choice at the end of the day, and we might see those two racing in League 1 next season. Or maybe he might fancy making a bid for someone else. I may be inquiring about the services of someone like Will Power, for example, but I hugely doubt that Chris Kavanagh will want to let go of the Australian. He has already stated that he wants to continue into Season 3 with Will Power and Helio Castroneves, but that will be officially confirmed within the off-season. They've both done a fantastic job this season. Lots of drivers out there waiting in the wings for a seat within the Grand Prix World Series. We are introducing a 3rd league into the series from Season 3 onwards. That will open up 26 more driver slots for any potential newcomers to come on board and have a crack within this absolutely amazing championship. It's so competitive. Had multiple different race winners. I think the last time I checked, Tom, I think out of the 30 races we've had so far this season before today, I think it's 19 different race winners across the two leagues. I mean, how much more competitive do you want it?
Can we have 30 different race winners for 30 races? No, it's been brilliant. It's been a really brilliant championship. Obviously, a very unusual way of putting together a championship with this promotion relegation system, but it's worked. And, you know, with the addition of League 3 and more team managers getting involved, it's going to be even more exciting.
And John Monroe, the team boss of HRT, has just been in contact saying he's delighted with his driver lineup, which I think is effectively confirmation that he'll stay with his drivers as Jack Aitken pulls off to the side of the circuit. He was running in P13, not on course for any points, and that is an end to the Anglo-Koreans race. Jack Aitken's car now being pushed away. And Jack Aitken, he came in and caused a bit of a stir within the Grand Prix World Series, actually, as he took 4th place in his debut at the Chennai Grand Prix, followed it up with a 5th place finish in Kyalami. And this was in a Force India that at the time was hugely underpowered. Oh, Marcus Winkelhock getting it wrong there into the corkscrew. But that Force India at the time, very underpowered. Not a lot of points to their name at the time. Jack Aitken came in, got 2 points finishes on the bounce, then hasn't scored any points since. It was a little bit of a false dawn for Ed Spencer and the team. And don't forget, amongst all that, and the Magny-Cours Grand Prix, Aitken did pick up a race ban for dangerous driving against Valentino Rossi, and that is an instance which is almost a carbon copy of what happened to Robin Fraines last time out in Buenos Aires. Our League 1 Championship leader will bring you more on that later on in the broadcast. For now, we're focusing on the last few laps of the League 2 race here in Laguna Seca. We are on lap 54 out of 60, a 6th of this race left to go, and we've got a battle here between the two Reals for 15th and 16th place. Mike Conway leading Oliver Turvey here. These two proving to be quite evenly matched this season, actually, since they became teammates. I think it's just a shame for Ed Hunter and the team that they haven't really had the power to compete this season.
So Marcus Finkel is just about to be lapped now by the race leader, and you can just see there's Brendan Hartley going to the inside, just putting a lap on the exact speed of Lucas Di Grassi. We having think of his choices for next season, because he's had a season to get really as Di Grassi.
He has indeed. He picked up a bit of an injury at the Magny-Cours Grand Prix in what was a monstrous accident, and Mike Smith took the decision to bench him for a couple of races to test out Jamie Green. Jamie Green actually doing a fine job, it must be said. He picked up a 9th place finish in Estoril to pick up some well-needed points for the Zaxby team. But then Di Grassi back in to allow for that evaluation of his return to competition, and it's not really gone all to plan for the Brazilian driver. I think the speed is definitely there, Tom, just not really the speed of the car.
Castroneves 3 seconds off the man he needs to pass to take the title. That is Will Power. You'll have to hope that Alex then gets in front of Will Power so that Castroneves can have a go on his teammate, but time is very much running out.
It is indeed. Lap 55 out of 60. We're on the 6th to last lap of the League 2 season here, and as it stands, Will Power will be taking the championship, but anything can happen within the last few laps. We've seen it many times, more noticeably Stoffel van Dorn at the Fuji Grand Prix a few rounds ago, on course to dominate in that race in Japan before retiring about 4 laps from the end. We're not hoping that the same fate will befall Will Power or anything. We don't like to put the commentator's curse onto the drivers here, but we all know that anything can happen here. As Brendan Hartley's coming up to the back of the two Real drivers who are having their own inter-team battle for P15. They're not under obligation to get out of the way here, but it looks like Oliver Turvey has indeed got out of the way of Brendan Hartley there, being the gentleman there and allowing the Kiwi in the Pacific through to continue in P7. Alan McNish has recovered up into P13. He's done quite a good job actually since his earlier excursions. He's put them behind him and is in P13, not on course for any points, but McNish putting in a solid audition to be continued into Season 3, Tom.
Yeah, and Finkelhock is just about to be lapped actually now by Will Power. Will Power goes through. So Power open up the gap. Not allow Lynn to close in on the Leighton House. Now will Vincock be kind and let Lynn go through as well? Doesn't do so into the left-hander. Shouldn't be too long before Lynn gets alongside and gets in front.
And Lynn isn't actually close enough to make that lapping on Winkelhock actually, so this is giving the impetus to Will Power at the moment. The gap was down to 1 second, it's now up to 1.1, and I imagine that will build further back out as Lynn negotiates his way around the Euro run. Kasha Neves 1.3 seconds behind Alex Lynn. He's made seemingly no attempt to get up to the back of that HRT to take back P2. Kasha Neves can see the title slipping through his fingers, with it going to his teammate Will Power as it stands on lap 56. And we can see that Alex Lynn has dispatched Winkelhock in the Euro run. And how long is it going to take Kasha Neves to get through as well? Lynn now 1.4 seconds off the lead of this race. Only a handful of laps left to go. And this is looking very good for the Leighton House team here today. I think whatever happens in the last few laps, I think we have to applaud Chris Cavani for the job that he's done with that Leighton House team this season.
And thoroughly deserve a place in League One next season. Very fantastic job from Chris. Look at what looks like Marino Sato is just trying to lap the baloney of Alan McNish, who will be so desperate to end his season with a finish of somewhat. And Sato, would he be a contender for driver of the day?
Oh, absolutely. He started last in this race and is up into P6. It's not going to be the championship for Sato. The team is already confirmed as promoted into League One. And what we were just saying about the Leighton House team and how they deserve all the plaudits this season, the same can be said of the Live team. They went for a similar approach to what Simtech has done within League One, of prioritising power over reliability. And while it has brought them a fair few retirements, when they have scored big, and Andrew Sampson's done a fantastic job with that team and rightfully secures promotion into League One for next season. It was a bit closer between John Monroe and David Yunt, HRT and Eurorun for third place. Both of them would have been deserving of a spot in League One for Season 3. It is going the way of HRT, regardless of what happens in the last few laps, because Eurorun did not take pole position. So, John Monroe will be joining Leighton House and Life in League One in next season. And Chris Cavani's just got in touch actually, asking would Will Power be driver of the day, qualifying in 8th place and braving the one-stop strategy. Definitely a contender in my opinion, Tom.
Yeah, I think that would be the driver of the day for me, because Will Power, it looks desperate for him at the beginning, but he's made the strategy work to his advantage, and he was able to complete the undercut on the likes of Lynn and Casanova. So Power for me would actually be my driver of the day.
And it could be a day that gets him a debut championship. He came in round 4 in this season. He hasn't done the whole season, but yet he could still walk away with the championship. He's been an absolute revelation coming into the Leighton House team within League 2. Has done everything that he can to achieve the team's primary objective, which was to gain promotion. Chris Cavani saying he was not thinking about the championship. He only wanted to get promotion into League 1. He achieved that earlier on this season and is now on course to potentially secure both titles here today. And now we are on the penultimate lap of the race. Power 1.9 seconds ahead of Alex Lynn. Kasha Neves not making any headway into Lynn at all. The gap between them is 2.3 seconds. It looks like this is going to be your top 3 order, and it looks like it is going to be the championship for Will Power and for Leighton House. But, Tom, we still have a lap and a half to go.
We do. There's still time for it to change, but it's very unlikely for the order to change. Will Power very much on course to be the Season 2 champion in League 2.
And Alex Lynn putting in another fantastic drive this season, brought in mid-season to replace Dario Franchitti at HRT, already a race winner at the Manicourt Grand Prix. Oh, Kasha Neves having a bit of a moment there. I think he's trying a bit too hard to get up to the back of Alex Lynn here. I think that might be a stretch too far for the Brazilian though. He might have to settle for third place. The championship will not be going his way as we are about to start the final lap of the League 2 season here in Laguna Seca. Power crosses the line. This is effectively going to be a lap of honour for the Australian. He's only a few kilometres away from achieving the title within the Grand Prix World Series. Max Chilton in the wars earlier on in this race. Recovered well to P12 actually, and Will Knight surely we'll be thinking about employing him full-time into Season 3.
Yeah, Chilton's done a fine job. He should have been in the points had it not been for that mechanical failure in Buenos Aires last week. But he's got it right here today, although be it with the damage he got on that one. But he's recovered well in terms of racecraft. He's done a sensational job as Max Chilton. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if he was in the seats for the race next year. But take it away, Topher. Willpower is about to complete its final lap of the race.
So, one more time through the corkscrew for Willpower. He came into the championship at Yongam, took a 3rd place on debut. He followed that up with a victory in Chennai. Another victory then followed in Germany at the Hockenheimring. And he's now about to get his 3rd win of the season and with it, claim the championship. He rounds the final corner, gets the power down. This back marker's up ahead of him, but it won't matter. Willpower will cross the line to win the race and win the championship. Willpower, congratulations, you are a Grand Prix World Series champion. What a season that has been for the Australian. Alex Lynn crosses the line in second, and P3 for Helio Castroneves confirms the Constructors' title for Leighton House. What a season it has been for Chris Cavney and the team. He wanted promotion into League One, he got that, and as a bonus, he's gone and got both titles. Tom, what can you say about the season that Leighton House has had this year?
They have been terrific this season. Unfortunately, there was only going to be one winner between those two, and that was Willpower, and he did it in style. That strategy, that was a World Championship winning strategy that he put in today, and it was paid off for him. So, but Castroneves won't be too disheartened by it, because he did come in later than Power did. So had it been for the extra races, he may well have been champion today. But let's not take anything away from Willpower. He's been magnificent.
Willpower definitely a deserving champion this season. Just to round off the final finishes, Vips has crossed the line in 4th place ahead of Lopez. Lopez missing out on a title this year, but still doing a stellar job across the course of the season. Marino Sato recovers up into P6 ahead of Hartley. What a drive that is from the Japanese driver. The race is now over. We can confirm the final finishing order. Willpower, champion with a victory. What a drive from him. Alex Lynn, the meet and a Leighton House sandwich as he finishes 2nd ahead of Castroneves, Leighton House teams champions. Yuri Vips 4th ahead of Jose Maria Lopez. Sato last to 6th, a great job by him. Brendan Hartley points for the Pacific team in 7th ahead of Will Stevens. 2 points for Jake Dennis and 1 point for Sergei Sorokin. Great job from both those guys. Vegelhop drops out of the points with his earliest spin ahead of Max Chilton. Alan McNish, Gaston Matsukane, Mike Conway, Oliver Turvey and Lucas Degrassi. Our retirements, Jack Aitken, Jerome D'Ambrosio, Sam Bird, Christian Lundgaard, Alexander Rossi, Adrian Sutil, Esteban Gutierrez, Sergio Sete Camara and Scott Speed. All finished race. Sutil disappointed to miss out on a championship, but he can still hold his head high after the tremendous season that he's had. I saw him take 3 Grand Prix victories. He will finish the season 3rd overall. And we have a quick look who got the fastest lap to boot. Helio Castroneves, an extra point for the Leighton House team. But Tom, here is our confirmation. Willpower is your champion.
A superb season for him. Even though he missed the first few rounds, it's been a stellar performance from him, and I cannot wait to see how he does in League One next season. But he'll be celebrating long into the night, and congratulations to the 2018 Indy 500 winner.
A quick look at the final standings following that race. Willpower, our champion, on 156 points, 12 ahead of teammate Helio Castroneves. Leighton House getting the clean sweep in this championship. They got promotion, they've got the team's title, and they've got a 1-2 in the drivers' standings. Jose Maria Lopez goes up into 3rd above Adrian Sutil, a non-scorer today, only 1 point between those two. And Tony Fuoco, 121 points. Sato, 118, all 6 in the 100 club for this season. Will Stevens holds on to 7th place with 88 points, 5 ahead of Alexander Rossi. Alex Lynn, despite only doing half a season, will take 9th in the championship. And Callum Ilott in P10. Some fantastic performances there, Tom.
Yeah, very fantastic indeed. Very sorry to Adrian Sutil as well, who we lost from the race at the beginning. He'll be very disappointed with that. HRT will be very, very gutted with it. But at least they'll be in League One with next season. I can imagine that Sutil and then will still be there, as well as Power and Castroneves. And if they've been that brilliant in League Two, goodness knows how they're going to be in League One.
Well, here is your confirmation. Leighton House team, League Two teams champion. A fantastic season from them. They got first and second in the Drivers' Championship, and it's got them promotion and the title going into League One for Season 3. A quick look at the final standings for the teams as well. Leighton House, they're in the goal, 347 points for the British team. Life on 290 and HRT on 249. Those three will be going up into League One next season. Eurobrun missing out there. LaRousse on 157, Modena 107 and Pacific 101. And then also in the top 10, Coloni, Zack Speed and Force India. And Tom, thinking about it on balance, I think the right three teams have earned promotion for next season.
I couldn't agree with you more, Topher. Life, Leighton House and HRT have been brilliant this season. It's a shame for Eurobrun and LaRousse. I think Eurobrun have been better than expected, if I'm honest with you. But LaRousse, I would say, have been more disappointing. But Leighton House, Life and HRT, congratulations to the three of them. How will they do in League One next season? They've got brilliant driver lineups as well. I think those who are going to be in League One next season better watch out for them.
Absolutely. We still have more racing left to come today. That is League 2 all wrapped up. Congratulations to Willpower, to Leighton House and to Chris Cavany for their triumphs this season. The League 1 race is set to be an absolute barnstormer. A lot of drama happening pre-race as well. We'll bring you all of the notes regarding that race in just a few minutes. We're going to have a quick break here. Make sure you stick around because this next race is not to be missed. See you in a few minutes.
Ah, what? Music!
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
We won't be out long.
Take your time. Track's all yours.
You ready? The name on the middle of that steering wheel should tell you that I was born ready. Hit it.
Attaboy.
Let me drive. I won't make a fool out of you.
I got a message for all of them. Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind?
That just happened.
These cars, you sit in a box, a coffin, gasoline all around you. It isn't like it being inside a bomb.
It's tough enough being a girl on the track. Living in my dad's shadow doesn't help much.
You have to be kind to the car. You feel the poor thing groaning underneath you.
No race was ever won in the first corner.
I'm gonna give you an engine, low to the ground, extra big oil pans will cut the wind from underneath you. That'll give you 30 to 40 more horsepower.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
Brakes are warm. Tires are warm.
I'll work in the cars and I'll drive and I'll eat and sleep and I'll work in the cars and I'll drive.
Damn fast, and when he runs so close together, it requires fantastic concentration and rather special skills.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
If you're going to push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to hold together, you have to have some sense of where that limit is.
Besides, the best drivers don't dwell on the future or the past. The best drivers focus only on the present.
They could never have imagined it, those pioneers who invented the automobile, that it would possess us like this in our imaginations, our dreams.
I'm gonna give you a fuel line that will hold an extra gallon of gas. I'm gonna shave half an inch off you and shape you like a bullet.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
Racing is in my blood.
I was put on this earth to race cars.
I accept every time I get in my car. There's 20% chance I could die, and I can live with it, but not 1% more.
No, Nicky, don't bring the percentages into this. Don't be a pro. The minute you do that, you kill what's good about this. You kill the sport.
And at that speed, your reactions can barely keep up with these sudden changes in direction.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up?
You want me to work the pit and you drive? Fine, we'll try that.
The car's a living, breathing thing, and she's alive.
If any of us imagined, really imagined, what it would be like to go into a tree at 150 miles an hour, we would probably never get into the cars at all. None of us.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
I am just as good as anybody out there on that track, and I don't need anybody to win my races for me.
I wish my daddy were alive to see this, to feel this.
And when we get you primed, painted, and weighed, you'll be ready to go out on that racetrack. You hear me? You're gonna be perfect.
You don't understand what happens, do you? They make 10,000 cars, they make them exactly the same way, and one or two of them turn out to be something special. Nobody knows why.
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
So it has always seemed to me that to do something very dangerous requires a certain absence of imagination.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
Soon you will know what it is like to be defeated by the hands of somebody who is truly better than you.
The only thing to do here is to drive just as fast as you know how and hope your car doesn't break.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
If you ain't first, you're last. There's 40 other vultures out there who managed to finish the race on their tires. You see Darren Waltrip using up his tires?
There's nothing I can't do with a race car.
But hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
Sometimes you could swear the whole thing's falling to bits.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
On the other hand, I suppose potential problems are in the back of your mind all the time.
So in many ways, I feel responsible for what happened. And
You were, but trust me, watching you win those races while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
You're so lucky. You sit there all closed in by machinery and bolts, precise things. There's hardly any room for you. It must be a nice, safe feeling.
Yeah, you gotta learn to trust something. Might just as well be the seat of your pants.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
We can drive. We can drive beyond the limits of the tires, the engine, the car, anything else.
Look out there. Out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes. Every gear change, every corner. Perfect. You see it.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
But it isn't just business, is it? What we do. It's passion, love, which is why we're prepared to risk our lives for it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Why does everybody keep telling me what my problem is?
That you get so emotional.
You would never, ever say that to a guy.
If you don't leave your feelings off the track, you're never going to get what you want.
I'm a race driver, and I can win it on my own. Please let me race.
fine. Then let's race.
Let's race for one final time this season. We just had an absolutely exceptional League 2 battle with the titles going the way of Willpower and Leighton House. It's 2 down, 2 to go as far as the titles are concerned for today. And Tom, we've just seen an absolute belter of a League 2 race. What can you expect from the League 1 race?
I would expect from the League 1 race more exciting, more intense. So we've got the driver's title up for grabs, we've got the constructor's title up for grabs, and of course, relegation to be decided. And what we do know for certain Topher is that because they've failed to take pole position here at Laguna Seca, MasterCard Lola are relegated down to League 2.
I think that was fairly inevitable for MasterCard Lola. I think pole position would have been an absolute miracle for them this season, but it's the way it goes in the Grand Prix World Series. MasterCard Lola are relegated down into League 2. For now, let's focus on the racing action. A few driver changes and some quite sensational ones, actually, Tom. The first of them is from the Midland team. Thomas Enger losing his seat and Lewis Williamson being brought back in for another race. Michael Gillespie thinking about his options for Season 3, and he wants to give Lewis Williamson another run in the Grand Prix World Series to see how he gets on. And here is an interesting one that I think a lot of people will be very excited to see, Tom. Forty Corsi has employed Mahavir Raghunathan. The Indian recently tested for the Alfa Romeo team, which means he's eligible for the Grand Prix World Series, and Dave Goddard immediately snapping up Raghunathan to replace Mika Salo.
Yeah, and I really cannot wait to see how Raghunathan does, to be quite honest with you. And I would say, and given where he's qualified as well, he's out-qualified 2 drivers as well, so he's not last on the grid.
And Dave Goddard has put forward the promise that if Mahavir does score points today, he will buy the entire Downforce radio staff a drink at the next meetup. So, Goddard, if it happens today, we will be holding you to that. And Tom, this is the massive one. Robin Frains, our championship leader with 1 round to go, has been banned from taking part in the Laguna Seca Grand Prix. He caused a collision at the last race when he took out, effectively, Pascal Wehrlein, cut across the front of the AGS, speared him into the barrier, and that warranted him a race ban for dangerous driving. He will be replaced by Oliver Rowland, the Super Aguri reserve driver for this race, but Frains with a 5-point advantage in the championship going into the final round. All he can do is watch from the sidelines and hope that the likes of Scott Dixon, Sebastian Bourdais and co all fall by the wayside and don't score any points.
don't think I've seen anything like this, Topher, apart from, when in 1970, Jochen Rindt, and we know what happened with him, he had to sort of hope that, in heaven, that all the other drivers didn't score as many points, and he ended up being the only posthumous Formula 1 world champion. But I'm not saying that's going to be the same for France, obviously, but it's a similar situation where a driver doesn't compete in the last round, but can still become world champion without competing in the race, if that makes sense.
Well, back in 1970, the only driver who could deprive Jochen Rindt of the Drivers' Championship was Jackie Ickx. This time around, though, there are 4 drivers who want to take that away from France. They are Scott Dixon, Sebastian Bourdais, Nico Hülkenberg, and Antonio Felix da Costa. Dixon has already taken a point off France by claiming pole position for today. This could be oh so important as we go into the final round. They will all be doing everything they can to make sure that the Dutchman does not claim the championship, and I don't think he'll have any fingernails left by the end of this. But let's have a quick look at how all of those points pan out going into this race. France, 5 points in the lead going into this race. That's now down to 4, with Dixon taking pole position for today. Bourdais on 110, Hülkenberg's on 107, and da Costa on 104. 5 drivers still capable of winning this championship, Tom. Dare I ask you for a prediction?
It is too close to call, but should Dixon maintain the reliability for this one?
Reliability, a big talking point in the Grand Prix World Series. Scott Woodward has gone for the win or bust approach of putting most of his prize money into the power, which has come at the cost of reliability more often than not. Scott Dixon right in contention for the championship. Can he get the job done today? Let's have a quick look at the team standings. Only 3 teams able to win it today. Super Guri in pole position as far as the points are concerned. 229, 13 ahead of Onyx Grand Prix, and Simtech a further 7 behind on 209. I think it's fair to say, Tom, the Super Guri would be the favourites, but we know then that anything can happen within this championship.
Yeah, and I would say that Simtech have the quickest car, so if they last the distance, Simtech have a good chance to really overhaul what is now a 19-point margin instead of a 20-point margin in the race.
Well, we have 60 laps of pure action coming your way as we look to crown 2 more champions today. We have 1 driver's title up for grabs and 1 team's title up for grabs. Looking at the grid heading into this race, as we said, is Scott Dixon on pole, taking another point out of Robin Frains there. Sebastian Bourdais second on the grid. He's also in contention, as is Antonio Felix da Costa, third on the grid, ahead of Marco Andretti, doing very well in the manner to take 4th place. Oliver Rowland on debut in 5th. His only aim today, take as many points away from his rivals as possible. Roman Grosjean on P6 ahead of Stoffel Van Dorn. Sebastian Buemi is there in P8 ahead of Nick de Vries and Marco Wittmann, making up row 5. Prost this season fighting against relegation. How will that play out at the end of this 60 laps? Danny Juncadella, what can he do from the 6th row? Also fighting to get Minardi out of that relegation zone ahead of Andre Lotterer and Paul de Resta in the Midland team, another team wanting to avoid the drop into Season 3. Kazuki Nakajima in the 2nd Onyx, there in P14 ahead of Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg, one of our championship contenders, not having a good qualifying down in P16. Pascal Wehrlein in the 2nd AGS at ahead of row 9, ahead of Simona Di Silvestro, then Kamui Kobayashi and Nelson Piquet Jr. on row 10. Row 11 is made up of Tom Christensen and Artem Markelov. He'll want to move forward in this race to help Prost stay in 10th or higher in the championship. Roy Nassani and Mahavir Raghunathan make up an all-40 row 12, and on the back row, Lewis Williamson and Tatiana Calderon. There is your grid. 60 more laps left to run in Season 2 of the Grand Prix World Series. That man there, Scott Dixon, is on pole position. It's all to play for, Tom.
It's all to play for indeed. 5 drivers. Any one of those 5 could become world champion, but only 1 can win it.
Only 1 can win it indeed. Will it be Dixon? Will it be Bourdais? Will it be da Costa? Will it be Hülkenberg? Or will they all fall by the wayside and give Frains the title? So many questions, so little time. 60 laps to run here in Laguna Seca, and we are awaiting the start of this League 1 race, the championship decider. And we are off and away for the season finale in League 1. And Sebastian Bourdais making the best start there as he gets past Scott Dixon straight into the lead. Sebastian Bourdais getting a really good start away from the line. And all this damage already on Dixon. Dixon, I think, has lost his rear wing there. I'm pretty sure I saw some comment flying in. Yes, Scott Dixon has lost his rear wing. It's an absolute disaster for the man who is on pole. Now, what has happened here? He had DaCosta right behind him. Andretti's there as well. And DaCosta's just gone straight to the back of Dixon. And I don't think there would be any malicious intent there, because DaCosta is also fighting for this championship. But that is an absolute disaster to start this race for Scott Dixon.
Well, DaCosta may have an outside chance of going for the championship, may most certainly have helped his teammate by knocking off Dixon's rear wing. Sebastian Bourdais into the lead. He's won the last 2 races. Can he win here today and snatch the title away from Robin Fries and Scott Dixon? And Dixon's going to have to pull off one of his comeback drives in order not only to finish in the points, well, to be fair, Bourdais, all Dixon needs to do really to overhaul Fries is score 4 more points and the championship is his. So if he can get up to 8th, that's part 1 of the job done. But now he's got the beginning of an uphill task to get back into it.
And Scott Woodward is fairly immediate in his response to that, simply saying, "You've got to be kidding me." Scott Dixon on his way down the order there, started in pole position, lost out to Bourdais off the line, and then hit up the rear by Antonio Felix da Costa. Oliver Rowland there going through into P7. This is going to be absolute agony for Scott Dixon and for Scott Woodward, and all getting very close there, going 3 wide at one point there as they run towards the corkscrew. Dixon trying to not concede as many positions as possible. Oh, a hit up the back there. I think that's Marco Wittmann. And we've now got a little bit of a traffic jam at the corkscrew. Dixon going backwards in this race. He's there in P12 at the moment. Not lost as many positions as he could have actually in this opening lap. And he'll want to lose as few as possible. There is Van Dorn now going past him, not really putting up a fight against his teammate, but blocking off Marco Wittmann there. He will now pull into the pits and drop to the back of the field. Scott Woodward, his head must be in his hands right now. He's in a good position to win the championship. But Dixon now going to be in last. There we go, into the pits. Bourdais in the lead. DaCosta is in second. Andretti and Grosjean running 3rd and 4th for the Manor team at the moment. That's their best running so far this season. They could have a good haul of points to finish off the season here today, Tom.
They could. So as it stands with the order as it is, Bourdais would be world champion. And DaCosta, I think, would move ahead of Scott Dixon in the championship, but there's an awful long way to go yet. And look at the Manors, 3rd and 4th places. Andretti and Grosjean have made brilliant starts. And
behind them, Nick de Vries in the BAR ahead of Kazuki Nakajima. Nakajima, I don't think qualified too well actually. He qualified down in P14 and he's already up into 6th place. There's a storming start there from the Japanese Onyx driver, making up, 8 positions at the start of this race. That's going to help Onyx as far as the team's title is concerned. Ryan Ferris and the squad still able to win that championship as well. But it's been an absolutely incredible start to this race. Oh, Di Silvestro's had a problem there. It looks like she might have gone a bit too wide into the corkscrew while defending against who I think is Artem Markelov. And she's gone across the gravel and lost a bit of her front wing there. So she will have to come into the pits for repairs there. That will promote Markelov up into P20. I think he'll want to get more positions than that, with the relegation battle also up for grabs here today.
Yeah, so that would be the Mastercard Lola heading into the pit lane. And Matvey Ragunathan, believe it or not, is up to 18th and 24th on the grid.
See, Ragunathan, we all know about his endeavours within Formula 2, and not a lot was thought of him when he was signed up for the Grand Prix World Series. But yeah, as you say, Tom, to be fair, that's not a bad start for the Indian driver from P24 up into P18, and we are all actually hoping that he will score points today, just so that Dave Goddard can buy us some drinks next time we all have our Downforce radio meetup. A long way to go, as you say, Tom. Anything can still happen in this race. As it stands, we're riding on board, or we were riding on board with our race leader, Sebastian Bourdais. Oh, Sebastian Buemi's gone off and he's gone for a spin on the corkscrew. Now he's gone right into the racing line there, so everyone's going to have to go offline and around it. Oh, it looks like Vandal's gone off and Wimmer's gone off. This is causing disaster. We've got multiple drivers off. It looks like Hulkenberg's also gone for a spin there. Absolutely terrible there. Sebastian Buemi going for a spin onto racing line. Hulkenberg's gone for a spin as well. Van Dorn was off. I think Wittmann was off as well. Multiple drivers being affected by that mistake from Sebastian Buemi, and Hulkenberg's just got himself up against a barrier there and lost his front wing. Looks like we're not going to get a replay of that, but Tom, that surely was all triggered by Sebastian Buemi getting it wrong into the corkscrew.
Yeah, and I wonder if the stewards will have a look at that as well. Although Buemi, he didn't do too much wrong after the spin, to be honest with you. He did the right thing just to stay where he was and not really move, otherwise he would have taken someone out. But it forced Wittmann, Kobayashi and Hulkenberg to take evasive action. And, I mean, Wittmann broke his front wing as well, so his chances of points are diminishing. As for Hulkenberg, he was one of the championship contenders.
Scott Dixon puts in the fastest lap from plumb last. So he is on an absolute mission now. Well, actually, no, he's not plumb last. He's down in P23 now, with Wittmann and Di Silvestro both having to make pit stops as well. So it is absolutely game on for Scott Dixon. He's showing that he has speed in that Simtek. And how will this race pan out across the remaining 57 laps? And I think you made a fair point, Tom, in that Sebastian Buemi didn't really do anything wrong following the spin. He got the car stopped, he stayed where he was, and then I think the impetus really was on everyone else to go around him safely. So I think more than anything, that might well just be put down as a racing incident. Now, Scott Woodward, the team principal of the Simtek team, is asking what does Scott Dixon need to do to win the title? Well, by Dixon having taken pole position, the difference between himself and Robin Frains is 4 points, which means that Dixon would have to finish 8th to be level with Frains but to head on countback. But of course, a spanner is thrown into the works based on Bourdais and Antonio Fix da Costa currently running 1st and 2nd. As it stands at this moment in time, the title would go to Sebastian Bourdais. He would be, I believe... Oh no, Bourdais off! Bourdais has gone for the spin at the same place that Sebastian Buemi did, and he's lost his front wing. Bourdais, oh, that's a huge incident there. Romain Grosjean right into Sebastian Bourdais there. And, well, we get a replay. Talk us through this one, Tom.
Oh, my goodness me. I mean, horrible, horrible moment for Sebastian Bourdais. And the two French drivers coming together there. So the yellow flag is way to Grosjean, so he knows there's a danger up ahead at the corkscrew. Yeah, I don't think you can really blame Grosjean or Bourdais on that one.
Well, I was just about to say the same, Tom. It is a blind corner. Grosjean not really having a lot of time to react. And De Vries is off as well. So we've got multiple drivers going off at the corkscrew. We didn't really see this much action at the corkscrew in the League 2 race, but it's all kicking off here in League 1. And has De Vries been caught out by that incident between Bourdais and Grosjean, or has he gone off all on his own? And I mean, we were just talking about Sebastian Bourdais and how he was in contention for the championship. Well, Bourdais is now out of the championship hunt as well as out of the race. Grosjean absolutely mullering the side of that Onyx through the corkscrew. I think another racing incident on that one. Bourdais getting it wrong, coming through the corkscrew as he applied too much power, got it in a spin, and Grosjean unsighted straight into the side of his countryman. One less driver for Robin Frains to worry about, and one less driver for Scott Dixon to overtake, and it's put this man, Antonio Fix da Costa, into the lead, and as it stands, I believe also into the lead of the championship now.
Yeah, because da Costa is the only driver of the championship contenders inside the top 10. And look who that has promoted as well. Danny Juncadella in the Minardi. Now remember, I think Minardi had 43 points going into this race. They need 8 points at least in order to have any hope of survival. And guess what? Danny Juncadella is in that 6th position. And with that, we've crossed out of the points. That would send the Prost team and Midland down.
We have a long way to go still in this race. We've had a lot of action packed into the first 5 laps here in the League 1 Laguna Seca Grand Prix. Sebastian Buemi down there in P20 now. Not a good day so far for the BAR team. Both Buemi and De Vries in the wars earlier on in this race, and neither of them are scoring points as it stands at the moment. And look at this man here, Marco Andretti, second on his home soil at the moment. This has been a fantastic outing so far for the Manda team, benefiting from their retirement for Bourdais. Grosjean looks like he's been able to continue, and I'm actually amazed by that, Tom. He absolutely ploughed into the side of Grosjean, and it looks like he's got away with only superficial damage.
Yep. And looking at the order as well, Mahathir were going to up to 13th place now for 14. This is incredible. What a race this has been so far, and there's still a whole lot more to come.
Dave Goddard, how's your wallet looking? So, Antonio Fix da Costa in the lead of the race, on course to win the championship as it stands, but we still have a long way to go. Mana on for a double podium at the moment. Nakajima up into 4th. He started 14th in this race, and he's now running in 4th. A great drive from him. Roland in P5 doing everything that he can to make sure that Super Aguri wins the team's championship this season. Danny Junkendaya, as Tom points out, another fine drive on him, and very much in the shop window for the driver market since Season 3. At least 3 teams, to my knowledge, Tom, expressing interest in the Spaniard for next season. And with the first come, first serve basis that we have in the Grand Prix World Series as far as driver signings go, it might be a little bit of a battle of fastest finger to get his services.
Yep, I perfectly agree. And Christensen off. That's bad news for the Minardi team.
The other Minardi out of the race. Now, has he been punted from behind, or is it an error? It looks like he's gone off all on his own. And oh yeah, rough ride across the curbing there. The wheel falls off, and Tom Christensen, his season comes to an end. He had a high of a 2nd place finish in Sepang earlier this season, but that is as good as it got for the Dane. And yeah, you can see there from the outboard camera, did it all on his own. Tom Christensen out of the race, and not really in contention for a seat into Season 3 either, Tom.
No, and of course there's a total of 78 seats up for grabs for Season 3. Christensen would just be praying that at least some team is looking for his services, where it will be in leagues 1, 2 or 3. That promotes Mervyn Regunavin up to 12th place. This is crucial for 40 as well in their quest for survival. De Resta is in 11th for Midland as his teammate Williamson pulls off.
Speaking of Midland, Lewis Williamson with a puncture there, so I wonder if he's gone across some crash damage earlier on, and that is not good news for Michael Gillespie and the Midland team fighting to get out of the relegation zone. And now the impetus as far as Midland is concerned is all on Paul de Resta, currently running in 11th place, 1.3 seconds behind Kevin Magnussen for that final points per position. Now, AGS, actually, I haven't noticed this has gone under the radar. So Kevin Magnussen started in P15 and Pascal Wehrlein started in P17. They're now running 8th and 10th within the points. It's been a good opening few laps for Phil Kinch and the AGS team, doing a fine job to get both their drivers up there at this stage in the race. As we now look at Artem Markelov behind Tatiana Calderon. So I hadn't noticed this at all, Tom. Calderon's up from last to P13.
She is. What a start from her. And, you know, she's looking to end her season on a high, you know, with MasterCard Lola already going down to League 2. They really, well, she's fighting for her future, really, isn't she, in the Grand Prix World Series? I wonder, you know, if there's going to be a few managers asking for her services for next season. And to be quite honest with you, she has had the very odd occasion where she's actually shone, but not really huge in comparison to the Silvestri's. Buemi runs wide at turn 1 there, or turn 2 I should say. The Andretti hairpin has just cut across it. Scott Dixon is already up to 18th place now.
Right, it is game on for Scott Dixon. He's made up a few positions already, and the pressure is being applied to Sebastian Buemi for P17 here. Coming up into turn 5, where Marino Sato likes to have a look in the League 2 race, and Dixon has gone and got the job done first time into turn 5, and that is another position gained for the Kiwi as he chases down the much needed points that he needs to win this year's championship. On a slight bit of a wiggle there through turn 6, but he keeps that Simtech on the road. Up ahead of him, it looked like PK Jr. is coming under attack there into the corkscrew, but he holds on to P15. For now, we look at Roman Grosjean, the 2 Mana drivers there, driving very well at the moment. It was a miserable start to the season for the Mana team, not hitting the ground running at all. Only pick up a handful of points here and there. They finally got their first podium of the season at the Birmingham Super Prix, and now on course for a double podium here. They managed to get themselves out of the relegation battle, and they will be in League 1 into Season 3, which Sam Hall was aiming for at the midpoint of the season, just hoping he could avoid that drop into League 2. And he has gone and got their job done. They will stay in League 1. And Tony Fix da Costa we run on board with now, the number 10 Super Aguri, as it stands, on course to win the championship.
Yeah, but there's still a long way to go yet. Oh, and Dixon's off again.
Scott Dixon in the gravel jam. Now, what has happened here? He was with Kamui Kobayashi. He's down the inside of the Japanese driver. And, they've come together. So Dixon going in a little bit hot there on Kamui Kobayashi, and the wheels collided. They're both in the gravel trap. And Kamui Kobayashi, he's had a miserable season. 1 victory at Taupo, and that was as good as it got for the Japanese driver. And looking at that again on the replay just now, so Kobayashi down around the outside of Dixon, and actually, Tom, I think that's a little bit 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, because Dixon was down the inside, but to me it looked like Kobayashi did actually turn in on him a bit.
Well, it kick-started when Wittmann was pulling a successful move on... Markov was pulling off a move actually on the Mascot Lola. I think the Mascot Lola might have an issue.
So maybe an issue for the Lola. It's been a miserable season for them anyway, and I'm sure they'll be happy to see the end of it. And thankfully for Simtek and for Scott Woodwis, Dixon is able to continue, but he's now down in P22 as Calderon is out. Calderon's having a fantastic race up in P13. Now what's happened to it's a loose wheel for the Colombian. So all of her good work has come undone. It was one of her best performances of the season, and that's such a shame for Calderon, Tom. What does she have to do to catch a break?
It's terrible a lot there for Calderon, but I think she's had quite a good reliability record this season in comparison to her teammate. I know she's been absolutely dominated by Di Silvestro in terms of qualifying, but at least she's got, she's had a full season experience and she'll be looking forward to season 3.
Scott Woodwis in the YouTube live chat's putting down 3 letters, of which I don't think I need to tell you what those 3 letters are, having seen Scott Dixon come together with Kamui Kobayashi. And it's just been announced there's no further action on the lap 1 incident, so I think the stewards possibly labelling that as just a turn 1 racing incident. But of course that is that can be appealed by Scott Woodwis. Tom, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me one bit. I think it would be very harsh for Di Costa to be given a penalty for that. But thankfully the stewards have been a little bit more lenient when it comes to first lap incidents, as they are fighting over the same piece of stomach as Ragunathan locks up into turn 2. He's now in 12th position in the 40 with Markelov closing in behind. Markelov, it's pretty much resting on him at the moment to salvage anything for Prost today. As it stands, with Yonkadea in 6th place for Minardi, they will be relegated.
And with regards to the lap 1 incidents, we did see a very similar incident between Alan McNish and Sergio Sette Camara, and that was put down as no further action, as well as stewards labelling it as a turn 1 racing incident. And I don't think Scott Woodwis is too happy with that decision, but as I said, he can appeal that and talk about it at the end of the race. We still have a long way to go here. Dixon can still make up those positions, but down in P21 at the moment, it is very much an uphill struggle for the Kiwi at the moment. We're still looking at Mahivira Ragunathan P12 on debut. Not a bad drive so far from the 40 Corsi. Right, well, he's about 5 seconds behind Paul Di Resta, so not really troubling the points at the moment, as we now ride with Marco Andretti in P2. What a result this would be for the Manatee.
So Andretti in 2nd and Grosjean 3rd. Now remember, last year in Laguna Seca, Manor finished 2nd and 3rd. Could the history repeats itself today?
Well, it is very possible here at Laguna Seca. It would be a good end to the season for Sam Hall. And Scott Dixon now trying to get past Kamui Kobayashi again. Can he do it safe this time? All very nearly banging wheels. Dixon through on the Japanese driver this time, up into P20 and into some clear air to work with. Riding aboard now with Sebastian Buemi, the number 2 BAR running 14th at the moment, chasing down Artem Markelov for P13. The Prost team needing to get some points out of this race, but not forthcoming at the moment, Tom.
No, I think Markelov, he's chasing down Mahivira Ragunathan, but he's not taking much out of his margin. Paul Di Resta doing a fine job in 11th place. He's just keeping up with Kevin Magnussen ahead. So Midland are knocking on the door on a points hole here, but they need big points, not just 1 or 2.
So, Da Costa leads, Marco Andretti 2nd, Roman Grosjean 3rd, Kazuki Nakajima 4th, Oliver Rowland 5th, Daniel Jonkendaya 6th, Andre Lotter 7th, Pascal Wehrlein 8th, Stoffel Vandoorne 9th, and Kevin Magnussen 10th. There's been a frenetic opening few laps to the League 1 Laguna Seca Grand Prix Championship up for grabs, and as it stands, it's going the way of Antonio Felix da Costa. But of course, we've said it so many times, Tom, reliability a big factor in this championship. Subaru Aguri's had their fair share, Simtek's had their fair share. It can all still happen, can't it?
It really could. Lotter trying to find a way through on Jonkendaya. Now this could come to Prost's rescue, actually. So I may be asking Emma Featherstone a favour here and just say, yeah, Lotter ahead of Jonkendaya.
Well, Jonkendaya is racing for his future within the Grand Prix World Series. He's put in some tremendous performances and is very much within the driver market for Season 3. A few teams already expressing interest in the Spaniards. he will have absolutely no desire to let Andre Lotterer go past. Lotterer was a championship contender up until the end of the last race. He went 3 races without scoring any points, and that put pay to any chances of him winning the title. And Scott Dixon trying to get past Simona Di Silvestro there, and not able to make a move through into the corkscrew section. And Scott Woodwis has confirmed that he is filing an appeal against the no further action. And I mean, I can see both sides of the coin, Tom, because we had that similar incident in the League 2 race, which was put down as a racing incident with no further action. It was a very similar incident this time around. I suppose the argument here, Tom, is that the championship is at stake between them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder if it's almost like a 1964 moment of where was it Lorenzo Bandini that ran into Graham Hill, which helped John Surtees win the championship. It's Lorenzo Bandini. Oh, Andretti's in trouble. Look.
Oh, that's such a shame for the American driver. He was doing such a fine jump up there in P2, and he pulls over to the side of the circuit. It's a mechanical issue for Andretti, and it's not going to be a double podium finish for the Manetima Grosjean. Up there in P2, but now into the pits. He's the first of the 2 stoppers to come in.
That's such a shame for the Manetima there. As Grosjean pits now, track position is going to be vital for Grosjean, so where is he going to filter back out? He wants to be out in front of Ragunathan, I should think.
So where is Grosjean going to filter out of the pit lane? If he can get himself a good amount of clear air, that would be helpful. And it looks like he is indeed out ahead of Ragunathan, but behind Paul di Resta. He's on fresher tyres now and will look to move himself back into that podium position when everyone else around him comes into pits. Now, Oliver Rowland running P3 at the moment on his debut. He's filling in for Robin Fraines in this race, who has a race ban from his antics last time out in Buenos Aires. All he has to do in this race is make sure he takes any points he can away from Onyx and from Simtek, and he's running behind Nakajima in one of the Onyx cars at the moment. Bourdais, the other one, not in this race anymore. So, what can Rowland do from there? What can Nakajima do from there? We're riding aboard now with Danny Juncadella. Oh, Da Costa's made a mistake there, and he's going to go across the curb, and I think he's got away without any damage there. That curb caught out a few drivers in the League 2 race. I think Da Costa's got very lucky there.
He did. He got caught out on the curb, and luckily didn't go into the gravel trap where it caught out a couple of drivers in the League 2 race earlier today. So Da Costa with a fight on his hands as Juncadella and Lotterer enter the pits from 4th and 5th places.
So it's a battle of the pit crews now between Minardi and BMS Scuderia Italia. Magnussen also into the pits as well. Di Resta up into P6 now, but he's yet to come into the pits. Ragunathan into the pits from P11, so he's on the 2-stop strategy. And one thing we saw in League 2 earlier on, Tom, which was interesting, the 1-stop strategy was the one that won the race. Which drivers here might well be going on to 1-stop strategy? Maybe Nakajima out of P2 here.
Yeah, potentially, and this is crucial for Onyx now, because they can still win the Constructors, but Nakajima needs to score big here.
He does indeed. When will he come into pits? Could this be an opportunity for Onyx to snatch away the title? Should there be a different strategy for Nakajima? Bourdais already out of the race. Nakajima running in P2. He'll need to do everything that he can to make sure that he picks up some points here today. Da Costa going on for another lap here. What strategy is he on, I wonder? Given his pace at the moment, I would suggest he's on a lighter 2-stop strategy, Tom.
Possibly, as Oliver Rowland continues to close in on Nakajima. He's had a fantastic race so far as Rowland, and I'm sure he'll be someone to look out for in the driver market.
Absolutely, the driver market's a big talking point as we approach the end of the season. As Paul di Resta into the pits. Now Midland looking like they could well go down into League 2 Season 3. It's not confirmed yet. Di Resta could get some points on the board and save them from that relegation battle. Di Resta, where will he end up going into Season 3? Could he stay with the Midland team, or will he be employed elsewhere? So many questions amongst different drivers in this championship. At the moment, we're asking the question, where is Scott Dixon? And we can tell you now, he's up into P15. You can see that on the graphic. Dixon is making moves. And we're only on lap 17, Tom. He's already up into P15. I would say that's actually possible, given the progress he's making at the moment.
I would think so, yeah. And given the superior horsepower advantage the Simtek has over a lot of the other drivers, even on older tyres, he's got a good chance as Da Costa comes in.
So Antonio Victor Costa into the pits, out of the lead, 20 laps of fuel going on board, which means he is on the 2-stop strategy. We now watch to see what Kazuki Nakajima and Oliver Rowland do. They've gone through into first and second. Pascal Wehrlein's up there in P4 at the moment. What strategy is he going to be on? We haven't yet seen him come into the pits, and Wehrlein started this race way down the order. I believe he was in... I can't find him on the list there. P17. He was that far down. I couldn't find him on the list. So Wehrlein up into P3 now. Da Costa has rejoined in P5. And he hasn't got too much clear air. He's got Wehrlein and Van Dorn right up in front of him, but a bit of an opportunity now to get his tyres up to temperature. There's Oliver Rowland in P2, yet to come into pits, same as Kazuki Nakajima. And Scott Dixon's now in for his first scheduled pit stop, so that tells me, Tom, he's on a 2-stop strategy as well.
I would think so too. Crucially for Da Costa, he managed to get out in front of Grosjean, who of which was running in third before. And just besides, McGunnifan goes past a slow VAR. I think that was Sebastian Buemi who was coming out of the pit. So McGunnifan up to 13th place. Nissani's inside the top 10 as well. Lottery gets in front. That's Markelov. Obviously on the older tyres. I wonder if Markelov will be another one of those trying to go for the 1-stop.
Well, here's Kazuki Nakajima into the pits now, which puts Oliver Rowland into the lead on debut. Rowland still to make his pit stop, but Nakajima on a 2-stop strategy, it seems, as he comes in for the first of his scheduled pit stops. That will allow this bunch back through to get in another position each. Wehrlein's in second, Van Dorn's third, Da Costa's in fourth, right behind this duo who have yet to pit. And Da Costa, he will not want to waste too much time behind these cars. He's got a race victory on the line here today. A race victory which could give him the championship should results go his way, but he needs to be mindful of where Scott Dixon is, who has now dropped out of P15 from his pit stop. Still with it all to do here today, as we are on lap 19 out of 60.
So Van Dorn under pressure here from Da Costa, who's already stopped. Da Costa diving to the inside, and that should be third place for him there.
Oh, Kobayashi's going off. He's gone for a spin there. The same as what Buemi did earlier and the same as what Bourdais did. And that's in front of Rowland, who looks like he's navigated his way around okay. And, well, Kobayashi going the wrong way up the corkscrew this time. It looks like he hasn't got any damage. And there's a chasing pack there. Looks like he's just got away with that one, not causing any real dramas there. He's now in the way of that chasing pack and will feel obliged to get out of the way. He gets out of the way of Wehrlein. And is Da Costa going to follow through? No, Kobayashi slotting back in between those two. And that's going to annoy Da Costa a bit, trying to chase down Wehrlein to get back through again. He now passes the Japanese driver, Kobayashi, falling down the order. He started off the season perfectly, did Kamui Kobayashi. He took victory in Taupo. We thought he'd be one of the championship contenders. But it hasn't really gone to plan for Kamui, has it, Tom?
No, it hasn't. And Da Costa, he's lining up Wehrlein now, so the passing place he did on Van Dorn on the previous lap is probably where he's going to most do it. As Markelov pits from 9th place, you know, he's got to really dig deep and get across the crucial points they need to ensure safety. But Da Costa diving to the inside of Wehrlein, does he go through? Yes, he does.
So Da Costa back into what will be the net lead of the race once Oliver Rowland comes in for his pit stop. There is Oliver Rowland coming through the corkscrew in the lead. Doing a fine job, it must be said, Tom. He's come in as a substitute for our championship leader, Robin Fraines. Doesn't need to win the race, he just needs to make sure that he takes points off of Simtek and Onyx, and at the moment, doing a stellar job by leading the race.
Yeah, I've just seen Kobayashi trying to unlap himself from Roman Grosjean, but he wasn't able to pull that one off. Da Costa in second place as Rowland pits for the first time in the Grand Prix World Series.
So Oliver Rowland looks like he will be on a 2-stop strategy here, and Radcliffe getting a bit wide there through what I think might have been turn 5. Wehrlein into the pits as well as Van Dorn, so now we're getting the later of the 2-stop strategy. So to me, Tom, it looks like the majority of the field is going on to a 2-stop strategy here today. I was trying to think who hasn't pitted yet. I don't think Nissani has pitted yet. Jonken Day is up into 4th, he hasn't pitted yet. So I don't think we've got as many drivers trying a 1-stop strategy in this race.
Well, Nissani's just come into the pits, Topher, as you were saying. So that'll move all the rest up a few positions as Wehrlein exits the pits behind him, as Markelov in 15th position ahead of what looks like Nelson Piquet Jr. So he's got a bit of clear track to use now to his advantage. I think behind who's that behind there? So Dixon's an 18, so Dixon's behind Marco Wittmann. Can Dixon pull off a move? No, Wittmann covers it there. I think it's going to be difficult for Dixon to pull that one off. Yeah, this is... all Dixon really needs to do here at the moment is finish, I would say, 7th or higher.
Well, we still have a long way to go. It's only lap 20 out of 60. We are a third of the way through this championship decider. Dixon's got a gaggle of cars up ahead of him. Wittmann, the first of those that he's on the gearbox of. Coming into turn 5, is he going to get the move done here on the German Prost driver? Yes, he is. Dixon moves up another position there into P16. PK Jr. is up next, and then Artem Markelov in the second. Prost and Dixon fighting his way through with a championship on the line here. He's definitely got the speed in that Simtech. Can he make it work when it really counts? And Tom, it's just flashed up here. The lap 1 incident is being re-investigated.
I'm not sure where to start with that one, if I'm honest with you. I don't think it costed anything. And when there's a yellow flag, it's Kobayashi again, who's gone for another spin.
It's going from bad to worse for the Arrows driver. Very nearly getting collected, but I think that's Dixon actually. He got very close to his front wing there. Kobayashi not having a good time of it here in California. And this is at a time where he will be on the market for a drive into Season 3. And now we see Scott Dixon trying to get down the inside of PK Jr. They're not able to get through at turn 1. Now down into turn 2, Dixon does not have the advantage over PK anymore. Actually getting a little bit wide there through the Andretti hairpin. Lost a bit of momentum. So PK lives to fight another day, but I'm sure that Dixon won't waste that much time getting up to the back of that BMS Scuderia Italia. This is a high-speed circuit, and that Simtech has a lot of power behind it.
So looking at PK Jr., he's behind Artem Markelov. Of course, is chasing Nick de Vries. Regunathan has already pitted in this race, and he's in 12th so far. So this is a fantastic performance from Regunathan to get himself up into 12th place. Paul Resta now 8th for Midland. Now, he's the only driver from that team left in the race, and as it stands, that would not be enough for Midland to survive.
But as we've said time and time again, Tom, we still have a long way to go and anything can happen. Danny Junkandaya, I think he is definitely trying this one-stop strategy here in Minardi, and it could be a strategy that ensures that they stay in League 1 for next season. Junkandaya, for me, one of the stars of the season, brought in as a replacement for Jos Verstappen mid-season. And, well, his results so far this season, he picked up a point on debut at the Birmingham Super Prix, went 4 races without scoring any points, but not driving too badly, and then has scored at the last 2 races a 5th place in Brno and a 10th place in Buenos Aires. Now, potentially on course to get some points again here today. And there is Paul di Resta running in 8th place. All the points today are absolutely crucial, not just for the championship, but for the relegation battle. And Paul di Resta, with 1 Midland out of this race, doing everything that he can to make sure that they avoid the drop into League 2.
PK Jr. holding up Wittmann now as Dixon has made his way up into 15th place. Next one up from him is Artem Markelov. It won't be too long before he gets into the back of de Vries and Regunathan should he dispose of the Prost. And looking at Grosjean's gap to De Costa, it's now 6 seconds, so De Costa very much in command of the race now. As it stands, he will be crowned champion.
Well, Roman Grosjean running there in P2 at the moment. He picked up a win for the Pacific team earlier on this season, then was sensationally dropped from the team after a few below par performances, picked up by Sam Hall and the Manor team. And he's picked up some points here and there, has Roman Grosjean, but is now on course for his first podium with his new team. It's been a great season so far for Roman Grosjean, a race win in League 2 and now about to get a podium in League 1. And Oliver Roland there all over the back of Danny Junkandaya. The Minardi's tyres will be really worn at this point, so Roland on the fresher tyres wants to get past the Spaniard if he can to chase down this man here, Kazuki Nakajima, running P3 for the Onyx team. As it stands at the moment, it looks like Super Aguri would still win the team's championship, but Nakajima doing everything he can to throw a spanner in the works.
Nick de Vries trying to fight it out with Mahavir Regunathan, who's dropping back from Sebastian Buemi. The gap between him and the Swiss is 11 seconds. See Scott Dixon right behind Artem Markelov now. Dixon needs to get by him as soon as he can, really. Markelov fighting to help Cross can survive, although it's not looking good for them at the moment with Yonkadea in 4th place for Minardi. And Roland should get by him on this lap with the much fresher tyres very, very shortly.
Now Scott Dixon all over the back of Artem Markelov here, trying to get a run through turn 1. Markelov, I think quite sensibly there, looks like he's got out of the way of the Simtek, and there goes Dixon through into P14, and right up ahead of him is the battle between Mahavir Raghunathan and Sebastian Buemi. Well, while those two are fighting it out amongst each other, sorry, no, it's not Buemi, it's De Vries, my apologies. While those two are fighting with each other, that's allowing Dixon to close in for those positions, and Tony Felix da Costa now 7.5 seconds in the lead over Roman Grosjean as we look at Paul de Resta under attack here from Pascal Wehrlein and Stoffel van Dorn, who actually capitalises on Wehrlein's loss of momentum there to move up into P9. And I thought da Costa might have had a little bit of a twitch there coming through turn 2, but he continues on his way. And Magnussen's going for a spin. Kevin Magnussen into the path of the chasing traffic, and very lucky there to not be collected by anyone. That's given Paul de Resta crucially another couple of points. And now here's the replay. Tom, talk us through this.
Yeah, so Magnussen, he just carries too much speed. I don't know whether he had a lock on the front left there, which caused the car to just go straight rather than turning right, as he intended to have done, or he just nearly chopped off Bohemian's front wing there. And that, like you say, has moved de Resta up another position. And Wittmans goes off in the cross. Can he rejoin? Yes, he can.
Very nearly collected there, but I think that's Roy Nassani coming through in the 40 Corsi. A few drivers making errors at the moment. This track catching a lot of drivers out, not just in this race, but also in the League 2 race earlier on as well. And Wittmann out of turn 9, getting it all wrong. I think very lucky to get away without any damage there. He is now down behind the 40 Corsi of Roy Nassani. Paul de Resta we run aboard with now in P7, and Van Dorn down the inside of him, so that's actually P8 now for Paul de Resta, trying to keep an eye on what this is going to do to all of the points, not just at the top of the standings but also within that relegation battle, because every point counts for the likes of Minardi and the Midlands as they try to avoid that drop. And here is Scott Dixon down the inside of Mahavir Raghunathan, 13th place now for the Kiwi.
So Dixon 3 positions away from a point scoring position as da Costa, who's just chasing off their arrows there. I can't tell if it's Hulkenberg or Kobayashi is trying to lap. Either way, Dixon needs to get past De Vries as soon as he can and go after Buemi, because Buemi's a long way up the road.
Well, if he is able to get himself onto the back of Buemi, there's a whole gaggle of cars that you're looking at now, which would be absolutely plumb for Dixon to work his way through. But of course, these guys are hard chargers. They can all defend really well. And there's so much more action left to come in this race, Tom. We're not even at the halfway mark yet. We've already had a lot of action. A lap 1 incident between title contenders da Costa and Dixon that is being re-investigated. My only thoughts on that, Tom, are that they're reconsidering it because the championship is at stake because of that incident.
Well, regardless of the situation of the championship, you sort of approach it as you would do in any race, to be honest with you. Otherwise, where's the consistency?
I think it's something to be talked about when it comes to the end of the race. As it stands, da Costa in the lead, and this is the lead which I believe will give him victory in the chase for the championship. But lap 28 out of 60, a lot of racing still left to go. Roman Grosjean riding aboard with now in P2. Nakajima in 3rd place ahead of Oliver Rowland. Danny Yonkadea is in P5, and all very nearly coming together there was da Costa. I think that was with Kobayashi. That could have been 2 championship contenders that Kobayashi's been in the wars with, but no harm, no foul on that one. Andre Lotterer in P6 as Magnussen goes wide out to the final corner. Looks like he has got away with that one. But he's conceded 10th place to Sebastian Buemi there. Magnussen having a little bit of a skiffy few laps at the moment, Tom.
Yeah, he just needs to settle down now and just get back into a rhythm, Magnussen. And just looking to see where Dixon is in behind De Vries. He's all over the back of him now. How close is he as they approach the end of the lap? Side by side here, look. Dixon can't quite get through.
So Dixon already up on the back of Nick De Vries. He's absolutely charging through the field as hard as he can. He's got nothing to lose now. So Stoffel van Dorn up in P7. Still going to get some points for Simtek as it stands, but it will not be enough for Simtek at the moment. Da Costa in the lead, Grosjean in second. Trying to keep an eye on what the gap is for Dixon versus everyone else as he makes a move past De Vries into P12. He's 11.5 seconds behind Kevin Magnussen here. We will keep an eye on that gap as the laps count down towards the end of the season.
Nakajima doing a fine job in third place. Oliver Rowland setting some very strong lap times after passing Yonkindea. Of course, for a good haul of points here to help seal the Constructors' Championship for Super Aguri. They're first in the Grand Prix World Series. It was BAR who took it last year at Laguna Seca. Looks set to be Super Aguri this time around. And looking at Kobayashi again, knocks up again at the corkscrew, but at least he's kept the car points in the right way this time.
Kobayashi not really having a great race so far. Been in the wars earlier on with Scott Dixon. That one, I think, might well have been put down as a racing incident, given that neither was predominantly at fault. Dixon still making his way through the field, and Kobayashi going the other way. Another lock-up for Kobayashi, and I think I'll be happy to see the end of this season at the end of the 60 laps. Da Costa, on the other hand, chasing his second career victory and the championship. But, of course, half the race left to go. Super Aguri has fallen foul of the reliability rule its fair share of times. And I don't want to jinx it for anyone, Tom, but with 30 laps left to go, anything can still happen.
Yeah, and this is a great situation for Minardi because Yonkindea is in 5th place. Now, at the beginning of the round, Minardi was 7 points from safety. So, with Midland not bagging enough points at the moment, Prost and 40 out of the points, Minardi would stay up.
So much to play for in this race as we run aboard now with Roy Nissany. That looks like Marco Wittmann behind him. Now, this is an important battle going on here because it is a fight for relegation between those two, Forti Corsi and Prost, both in contention for their drop down into League 2 as we hit the halfway mark at the end of this lap. 30 laps down, 30 laps to go. Antonio Felix da Costa in the lead, Roman Grosjean second, then Kazuki Nakajima, Oliver Rowland, Danny Yonkindea, Andre Lotterer, Stoffel Van Dorn, Paul Di Resta, Pascal Wehrlein and Sebastian Buemi. What a job this is so far from Paul Di Resta, Tom. Damon Midland has had absolutely no pace in the second half of the season, but Di Resta doing everything that he can in that car at the moment.
Doing everything he can indeed. So, looking at the battle between, we're seeing Piquet Jr. is behind Raghunathan now. Raghunathan not quite showing the pace he had done at the beginning, but he's holding up Piquet Jr., Nissany and Wittmann.
So, it's all to play for in the second half of the final race of the League 1 Championship within Season 2 of the Grand Prix World Series. 30 laps left to run of the season, and anyone can still win this. Keep an eye on the gap for Dixon to Magnussen. It has come down. It is now 6.3 seconds, if my maths is serving me well there. Dixon is closing in on the back of that AGS driver, and that would make him one position away from the points if he's able to make up that gap. And if he can catch up to the back of Magnussen, Tom, he's on the back of that train to get himself into the points.
Definitely so. Dixon, he's got 7 seconds to make up on Magnussen. So there'll be some time yet before he gets into the tail of it. He needs to think about when he's going to be pitting in for the final pit stop of his. And it's going to be a last dash to make his way through the field.
We just had a word through from race control. The lap 1 incident will be discussed after the race. So it looks like we want to get the opinion of all the team managers involved in that, and it will be probably more effective to discuss that after the race. So results provisional when we come to the end of this 60-lap contest, and the cost of one of those drivers under investigation for that coming together with Scott Dixon. You can everyone can have their opinion on the matter. I think personally that because it was a similar incident to Sete Camara and McNish in the League 2 race, which was put down as a racing incident, then the same will be applied. But of course, different people have their different opinions. Scott Woodward's feeling as though the title is on the line here. Sam Hall feeling as though a win is on the line here. If Da Costa gets penalised, that could promote Roman Grosjean into P1 in this race. So I think safe bet there, Tom. It will be discussed after the race.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I think Da Costa, I don't think he did anything wrong at all because it was that close. Everyone was bunched together. I think it would be very hard to punish Da Costa in any way.
Nakajima getting a little bit wrong through the corkscrew, and he's off. So Nakajima's actually come to a stop. It's a transmission issue. The gearbox has gone on the Onyx. So that confirms that Onyx will not be winning the title this season. They've had one of the best, well, they've had their best season so far. They had a bit of an average season in Season 1, but this time around they've got race victories, and Ryan Ferris has put together a stellar package for Season 2, and unfortunately not quite going the distance. Kazuki Nakajima is out of the race, and Onyx not going to win the title this time around. But Ryan Ferris, a very well done to you for the job that you've put in this season. 2 victories. What a result. What a season for the Onyx team.
Promotes Dixon up a position into 11th place now. Oliver Rowland up to 3rd for Super Grey. Danny Okudea up to 4th for Mignardi. It's looking very, very good for him at the moment.
Now, has Yunkadea been into the pits yet, Tom? I don't think he has.
I think he has done, Topher. He was in the first round of pit stops.
See, there's been so much going on in this race. I'm trying to remember everything that's happened. It's been that chaotic at Laguna Seca Grand Prix. And here is Scott Dixon into P11 now. And that gap to Magnussen has come right down in that last lap. It's now down to around about 4 seconds. Waiting for the next split now. It's now down to 3.8. Dixon absolutely flying at the moment. And he's 1 position away from the points. So we've only just halfway distance in this race, Tom. He's already 1 position away from the points. This is possible.
This is very much possible, and Dixon, I mean, looking at the championship standings, I mean, how many points was he behind DaCosta going into the race? Looking at it at the moment, in terms of the championship standings, well, Dixon was 18 points clear of DaCosta going into the race, I believe, although he's got the fastest lap and the pole position points, hasn't he, currently? So, it was 20 points ahead, or maybe 60 points ahead of DaCosta or something like that. Well, he's 18 points clear at the moment, so what he needs to do is finish, I would say, in 6th place or 5th place or something like that, which may sound like a tall order, but it's very, very much possible.
Well, Dixon is now into 10th place, and Roman Grosjean's got it wrong with the corkscrew. Very lucky there to get away without any damage. He continues on in P2, one of his best performances on the season so far. Scott Dixon now up into P10. He is inside of the points. Now, he needs to finish in P8 to overhaul Robin Frains. But with DaCosta in the lead, DaCosta still on course to win the championship as it stands. So Dixon, we reckon, will need to get up to around about P6 to ensure that he gets the title. Still a tall order at this point in the race. But the guy in P6 at the moment, Paul di Resta, there's only 5 seconds between himself and Dixon, Tom.
Absolutely, as Yunkadea pits in for the 2nd time in this race. Now, where is he going to filter back out? I think he'll rejoin behind Dixon, I think. He was ahead of Van Dorn anyway. I just think with Van Dorn's superior horsepower in the Simtek, I'd imagine he'll get onto the tail end soon.
So Dixon goes ahead of Danny Yunkadea. That's 1 less driver for the Kiwi to worry about. Yunkadea out in 10th place, and Dixon, we believe, will have to stop 1 more time in this race. Artem Markelov now into the pits as well. We're starting to get to that stage now where the 2 stoppers will come in for their final pit stops. Nelson Piquet Jr. also in as well. So this is going to be crucial for the championship with the last round of pit stops. The Simtek team will need to do a good job as well to make sure Dixon's out in clear air. As DaCosta in for his final pit stop, and where is he going to filter out in relation to everyone else?
I think he'll come out behind Grosjean but ahead of his teammate.
Well, there is Oliver Rowland about to come around the final corner now. Grosjean has indeed gone through into the lead of the race. You can see there DaCosta is fueled to the end of the race. So still in the net lead of this Grand Prix. Where is Rowland going to be in relation to his teammates? And right behind him, he's got around him. So that was so close a contact between those two, and Rowland now in P2 ahead of DaCosta now. The team game will be coming into effect here, I should imagine, because Rowland is a substitute driver here today. DaCosta fighting for the championship. He will not want to stay behind his teammate for too long in this race. But Rowland, he's also auditioning for a race seat for next season. So there is a team game at stake here, and Rowland's only job is to make sure he takes points away from Simtek and from Onyx. But at the same time, Tom, he wants to think about his future. Does he have to get out of the way here?
Yeah, I think he's got to. If his teammate's fighting for the championship, he has to let his teammate go. Not doing so yet. But to be honest, Da Costa doesn't need to be taking too many risks because he knows that Roland is going to be pitting again before the race is over.
That is very true. Roman Grosjean in the lead of this race, still to make one more pit stop. Oliver Rowland there in second with his teammate right behind him on the fresher tyres. And the golden rule of motorsport is do not take out your teammate. Well, it's not going to happen now because Oliver Rowland does get out of the way as he comes in for his pit stop, as does Roman Grosjean. So Antonio Felix da Costa back into the lead of this race, having completed all of his pit stops. Rowland, he's now going to the end of the race as well. Grosjean, I imagine, will be as well. There goes Roman Grosjean. You can see there, 26 laps of fuel on board, and Grosjean on what would be a brilliant podium for the Manor team. And Lotterer up into P2 now. He will still have to come in for another pit stop as well. So this is absolutely crucial, Tom, these stages of the race. The final pit stops, it's down to the pit crews to nail those final pit stops and make sure they get the cars out as quickly as possible.
Now here's something interesting. Paul di Resta is up into 4th place for Midland. I would think he's going to be pitting again before this race is over.
He probably will indeed. We're just having a quick look at the permutations on the points here. So Dixon's currently running in P6, which I believe will give him the championship if it finishes like this. But don't forget, we do still have a few more pit stops to come. So we'll bring you all of those championship permutations once everyone has completed their final pit stops. Dixon, we believe, does have to pit one more time in this race. And with a pit stop of about 22 seconds here at Laguna Seca, if he were to pit now, that would put him out between Buemi and Magnussen. So keeping an eye on what that gap is going to be, because every position gain for Scott Dixon is going to be absolutely crucial at this point in the race. Scott Woodwitz is getting in touch on the YouTube live chat. He believes that Dixon does have to pit again as well, but at the pace that Dixon is running at the moment, he's starting to feel a bit more optimistic here. And given Dixon's pace at the moment, Tom, I actually don't blame him at all. He's driving a fine race at the moment.
He is. He's staying out for those things. He's up to 3rd now as Lotterer and di Resta come in for their final stops. So this is a good opportunity now for Dixon to put in some really good laps here before he comes in for his last stop.
So we're right on board with Antonio Felix da Costa, champion-elect as it stands when Dixon comes in for his final pit stop. Dixon, of course, will have fresh tyres when he comes in, and I believe will still be in the points once he does come in. Oh, Nico Hülkenberg's going off here. That looked to be a bit of a weird one, actually, Tom, because he got it all locked up. Don't know if he's had a problem of some sort, but through that corner, that's not really a corner where you lock up like that, so there must be some sort of mechanical issue.
Yeah, and that's allowed Markelov and Wittmann to get through, and yeah, he's trying to get out. What a miserable day it has been for Arrows. I can't believe, Hülkenberg came into the round as a championship contender as well, and he's just, he's throwing it all away, hasn't he?
Well, that car is still going, so maybe it was just a simple driver error rather than some sort of mechanical issue for the German. But he's waiting for the traffic to go through, and this is going to be pain for Nico Hülkenberg. As you say, Tom, he was a championship contender coming into this race, and I think he can wave goodbye to the title now. Still not getting himself back onto track here, well out of the top 15. There we go. And there we go, it just flashed up momentarily. Scott Dixon into the pit. So let's keep an eye on this, Tom. Where is Dixon going to come out of the pits? He's fueled himself to the end of the race. Pascal Wehrlein also in as well. Looking in the mirrors there, looks like no one else is coming in behind Dixon, so it should be a clear run out of the pits here. 24 laps of fuel going on board. Now, he was going to be between Buemi and Magnussen, I predicted, before he came in for his pit stop. But will he have been able to make up any more ground on those guys through his in-laps? And here we go. He's actually out ahead of di Resta, so Dixon absolutely making that middle stint work. And he's into P7 now. So Dixon and the Syntec team, a brilliant pit stop, brilliant driving from Dixon. And he's right there in contention for the championship now. He was down in last at the end of the first lap, having come together with our race leader Antonio Felix da Costa, and we believe, Tom, that 6th place will get Dixon the title. Look who's in 6th place. It's his teammate Stoffel van Dorn.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going to have any trouble letting him through. He'll be aware of the situation. Will van Dorn is going to going to the inside there. That's actually an Arrows. He's trying to lap. That's not for race position, so he should be allowed through here, and he does. So McGonavan gets through. So 14 not on course for points at the moment. Frost not on course for points. Minardi with Yonke Daly in 4th place, with di Resta in 8th. That would be enough to see them survive. Frost and Midland will be relegated.
Who would have thought at the start of the season that we would see an Arrows getting lapped by Mahavir Raghunathan? It's amazing how this championship's gone this year. We've had so much action, so many different permutations, and I think that might just about sum everything up.
Pretty much so over the course of what we've seen so far this season. As Raghunathan hasn't made any mistakes in this race, makes a lock up there into the corkscrew, got away with it, and is now going to need to let Acosta by very shortly, which I don't think there's going to be too many issues. He allows him through that, and he can set about going after the next driver in front, which is Nelson Piquet Jr. in 15th.
So we're about to start lap 41 of this 60-lap race. Antonio Felix da Costa leads the race, and as it stands with Dixon in 7th, da Costa would be champion. Romain Grosjean in P2 on course for his first podium in Manor colours, and the first podium for Manor for quite a long time now. Oliver Rowland running very well in P3 at the moment, on course for a debut podium for the Super Aguri team, which would help them clinch the Constructors' crown here today. Danny Juncadella, what a performance by him in P4. As Marco Wittmann up the inside of Artem Markelov, a change of position there between the two Prost drivers. Neither of them in the points at the moment, and Prost, they really need to get a move on if they're going to get themselves up into a points playing position to avoid relegation. And with Paul di Resta there in P8 and Daniel Juncadella there in P4, it's still anyone's game as to who's going to finish within the top 10 at the end of this race. And Kobayashi tried to unlap himself on Mahavir Raghunathan there, but the Indian shutting the door on him, does not want to let that lap go. I think this is something of a moment of pride for Raghunathan, because he has just lapped a race winner. He won't want to let that go, will he?
No, of course not. So Grosjean in 2nd place, looking good for a podium. I mean, Manor are not fighting for anything at the moment, so it's just a matter of just ending the season on a high. And Oliver Rowland, what a performance he's done today in the Super Aguri. Up in 3rd place, Danny Juncadella, contender for driver of the day, I think. I should imagine.
Well, I think if Scott Dixon does go and get this job done and gets past Van Dorn into the top 6 that he needs to win the championship, that won't just be the title, but that would be my drive of the day performance as well. And Lotterer gets a little bit wide there in the penultimate corner, but able to hold on to it. But yeah, Dixon, a fantastic drive from him. He was hit up the rear by da Costa in the run down to turn 2 at the start of the race, and investigation pending into that one. They need to talk with all team principals involved and get all the opinions of everyone to see if any penalty can be apportioned there. But since then, Tom, he's got his head down. He had another coming together with Kamui Kobayashi, which looks set to end his day, but he got back on track, got going again, and as it stands, he's 1 position away from securing that magical P6 that he will need to secure the title. And look, you can see the gap there. Stoffel Van Dorn right up the road from Dixon, and probably won't mount any real challenge to the Kiwi.
No, and I suppose the good news for Dixon is that there's also Lotterer and Juncadella. He could also choose to get by. So this is pretty much not just a battle for the title. Oh, someone's off!
That is a BMS Scuderia Italia. It's Nelson Piquet Jr. So out of the final corner. Looks like he's just got it all wrong. Gone across the gravel, and he has resumed, but down way out of the top 15 now. Piquet, he's been one of the stars of the series since he came in place of Pietro Fittipaldi, scoring points in all but 1 race so far this season, but not having a good race here today. But Piquet already confirmed as staying with BMS Scuderia Italia into Season 3. So at the moment, just driving for pride more than anything.
Just seeing Markov there in 14th place. I wonder if he made a mistake down at turn 4 or turn 5. There's Romain Grosjean in 2nd place in your picture. Pulling away from Rowland now. And Hulkenberg's off again in the Arrows. Has he got a problem this time? Or is that a driver error, do you reckon?
It looks like something is quite wrong with that Arrows in terms of its drivability. We've already seen that from Kamui Kobayashi earlier on in this race, and now Hulkenberg having a bit of a hard time. Still beached there at the top of the corkscrew as the field filters through. This has not been a good day at all for Arrows. He now comes back out onto the track in front of Nelson Piquet Jr. And yeah, Arrows, I think this is a day to forget for them.
So Lotterer in 5th, behind Juncadella, and here we go, look, Van Dorn ahead of Dixon.
Here we go, Scott Dixon, not going to make the move there. That is not an overtaking place, Scott. Take your time to get this done. We've seen it so many times. People have had a look there into turn 6, but not been able to get the move done. Dixon needs to be smart about this. It is his teammate in front of him, who theoretically shouldn't put up too much of a battle to Scott Dixon, but that is not the place to get it done. And Dixon, he's looking good for the championship at the moment, if he can get past Van Dorn. And right up in front of them as well, you just about see them in the distance, Danny Juncadella and Andre Lotterer. And once Dixon gets past Van Dorn for 6th place here, how long will it take him to get up to the back of Lotterer and Juncadella? Because he won't just want 6th place to get the job done, he will want to get up as high as he can to basically seal a deal and make sure that the job is done.
Whilst these two Simtex are buffing, there's a buffer between Juncadella and Lotterer over 4th place. We'll see. I wonder how much will Juncadella fight this one. I think he's going to have to fight it because the Simtex are closing in.
Well, he has to fight in terms of the relegation battle as well. For now, we're looking at the battle between Scott Dixon and Stoffel Van Dorn. Dixon's already pulled off a couple of overtakes here into turn 5. And there he goes into the P6 he needs. So Scott Dixon now in position to win the championship. Of course, we still have 18 laps left to run here in Laguna Seca, and reliability has been one of the downfalls of the Simtech team this season. At the moment, it is looking good for Scott Dixon. Scott Woodwis is watching with eager anticipation, watching those laps count down and waiting for Scott Dixon to finish this race. Still a long way to go though, but as it stands, if the race were to finish now, Dixon would win the championship by 1 point over Antonio Felix da Costa.
He wants to ensure that. He wants to try and get by Lotterer and Juncadella just to cement that a little bit more so he's got some breathing space. Lotterer trying to get past Juncadella. In fact, if Lotterer can get a good result out of this, he may be able to move in front of Nico Hulkenberg for what I believe is 5th place in the driver's standings.
Hulkenberg on course to score 0 points here today. Lotterer would get 10 points, which would put him on 103, 4 points behind Hulkenberg. He gets an additional 2 points for passing Juncadella, so he'd only just be behind Hulkenberg. But if he could get himself up into a podium position, that would secure his move past Hulkenberg in the standings, but he has a Minardi to worry about first. And Juncadella driving beautifully as always, putting in a great defensive drive here. I said it earlier, Juncadella is very much on the radar of plenty of teams for Season 3. This is doing the Spaniard a whole world of favours once again.
There's Oliver Rowland, we'd see now on course for a podium on debut as Markov gets lapped by the leader, Antonio Felix da Costa. Doesn't put up too much of a fight on him. He's just got to hope that reliability hits the other teams ahead of them, particularly Juncadella or De Resta.
So Antonio Felix da Costa putting a lap there on Artem Markov, the Prost team, looking like they're not going to be scoring any points today, but within the last 15 laps, any amount of attrition could amount to them picking up maybe a point or two. Still a long way to go here. Oliver Rowland we run on board with in P3 on course for a debut podium. What a fantastic drive it's been for the Englishman, substituting for our championship leader Robin Frains, who with his absence today looks like he will not be taking the title as it stands. And how much will Robin Frains be ruining that move he made on Pascal Wehrlein at the last race in Buenos Aires?
We ruined that a lot. And Dixon's got by Juncadella, so Hulkenberg locks up again.
In exactly the same way through turn 9, there is something fundamentally wrong with that Arrows car, seemingly undrivable at both the hands of Hulkenberg and Kobayashi. So something that the Arrows team needs to address going into Season 3, as Pascal Wehrlein getting a little bit wide there through turn 5, running in P11 at the moment, just outside of the points, and right up ahead of him is Kevin Magnussen in P10. AGS not in contention for the title at the moment, just racing for pride in this race, and on course for 1 championship point at the hands of their Danish driver. Looking through the order now, on lap 47 out of 60, da Costa 14.5 seconds in the lead over Romain Grosjean. Oliver Rowland, there he is in P3, 10 seconds ahead of Scott Dixon. And Dixon's actually passed Lotterer and Juncadella. We haven't seen it on the TV, completely missed it on the graphic until just now. Dixon now up into P4, so he's wasted no time in dispatching those two drivers. And Dixon, I said it earlier, not just wanting P6, he wants to get up as high as he can to make sure the job is done today. And with 14 laps left to go in this race, he's 10 seconds off Oliver Rowland. Tom, could he maybe get a podium out of this to clinch the title?
It'd be quite a fitting way to do it, wouldn't it? And it's possible. He's just under 10 seconds behind Rowland. And Dixon's putting in some red hot laps, so it's very much possible.
Scott Dixon noted earlier on that Scott Dixon was a full second a lap faster than anyone else as he was chasing down Stoffel Van Dorn, still making that superior speed work here. We're going to keep an eye on that gap, which is now under 10 seconds between Rowland and Dixon. So Scott Woodward, I imagine, will be watching the timing screens with bated breath here, chewing off all the nails he has left on his fingers, watching that man there, Scott Dixon, on his way to what would be a maiden Grand Prix World Series title, not just for Scott Dixon, but for Simtek and for Scott Woodward as well. But as we know, Tom, anything can happen. We still have a few laps left to go here, and we've seen it before this season that Simtek has been in contention for a race victory but fallen with only a handful of laps left to go. I do not wish to jinx it at all here today, but all I'm saying is it's possible. Anything is possible.
Yeah, and even though if Dixon was to drop out of it, it's not over in terms of the championship because Robin Friends is still leading the championship. Well, he was ahead in the championship before the race had even begun, so it's very much game on still. It's going to be a nail-biting 13 laps for a lot of the team managers who are fighting for the title or to beat the drop.
Now, this is an intriguing battle going on here between Danny Jonkadea and Andre Lotterer. Lotterer having a look there into the corkscrew, and once again, Jonkadea putting up a defence there, keeping hold of that P5 position. Jonkadea driving so well at the moment. He's been on the defence for pretty much the entire race. And in that Minardi, which is woefully underpowered in comparison to some of his rivals, Jonkadea driving the socks off that Minardi, and P5 would be a very welcome reward for himself and for the team, and it is a result that could see them stay in League One for Season 3, Tom.
I couldn't agree with you more. And just looking at what is DeCosta, who's coming out to the lap, Marco Whitman by the looks of it. Lotterer thinking about a move on Jonkadea. Can't quite do it into turn 2, the Andretti hairpin. Van Don trying to close in as well. He needs to get a move on, does Van Don, if Simtek are going to have any chance of salvaging the team's championship. But with the Super Aguri's first and third, it's pretty much game over now, unless something else happens.
Well, 12 laps to go here at Laguna Seca. Super Aguri on course to win the team's championship ahead of Simtek and Onyx. Onyx will not be scoring any points here today. Bourdais getting involved in an incident earlier on where he span at a corkscrew and was collected by Roman Grosjean. A racing incident was the label on that one. And Kazuki Nakajima pulling off with a mechanical issue later on in this race. So it's non point for Onyx. They're not going to win a championship, but as it stands, they're going to lose second place to Simtek. However, 12 laps to go, anything can still happen. Stoffel Van Dorn there in P7, closing in on this battle between Jonkadea and Lotterer. Is going to become a three-way battle for 5th place here. Lotterer still not able to find a way past the Minardi here. What about this performance from Paul Di Resta at the moment? He's got Sebastian Buemi right behind him, withstanding the pressure from a race winner within the Grand Prix World Series, and every point counts for Midland, as they are also one of those teams looking to avoid that drop into League 2.
The Di Resta holding up Buemi. I'm just saying that Jonkadea is holding up. This is going to be a long queue of cars between now and the end of the race, because Jonkadea is effectively just holding everyone up.
But when is Lotterer going to make that move? He's been behind them for a good few laps now. I've lost count of how many laps he's actually been behind the Spaniards. But Lotterer unable to find a way past at the moment, and Van Dorn is closing in on the back of that battle, and he'll want to pick up as many points as he can for the Simtek team as they look to close down Super Aguri. However, as it stands at the moment, it looks like they might need something to happen to either or both of the Super Aguris, with the Japanese team running in first and third at the moment. Now Buemi's having a look to get past Paul Di Resta here, backs out of it. He's not going to get the move done into the corkscrew this time. Oh, a little bit of a lock-up there from Paul Di Resta, and that's going to put the impetus back on Sebastian Buemi to get an overtake here. Di Resta now under pressure and out of kilter, so is this going to be the moments where Buemi gets through into P8 past the Midlands? He's lining him up here. Oh, we've got some yellow flags. PK's off again. Nelson Piquet Jr., and the replay has not quite caught what's happened to him, but it looks like he's done a similar spin to what he did earlier on in this race, but now pointing towards the barriers. He's going to have to reverse back onto the racing line and waiting for the traffic to come through. Absolute disaster for Piquet Jr. He's been so strong this season. Up until this race, had scored points in every race, bar one that he's competed in, but is not going to score anything today. There goes Di Resta and Buemi through. A little bit of a saving grace there for Di Resta, with Buemi not able to make the overtake through the yellow flag zone, but Buemi still on the back of Paul Di Resta here. Is he going to make a move down into Andretti? No, not this time. thinks better of it. Maybe going to line up for a move, possibly into turn 5. And PK Jr. doing a spin turn to get back going again. But it's been an absolutely miserable day for the Brazilian driver. On the other side of the BMS Scuderia Italy garage, we've got Lotterer in P6 fighting for P5 with Daniel Gadea. So points still on the table for the Italian team run by Emma Featherstone. PK now back on his way, and what a miserable day it's been for him.
Very miserable indeed, but at least he's ahead both of the Arrows drivers, who've also had a miserable afternoon, as Grosjean approaching the 40 there, who goes off, and it's Roy Nissany.
And Roman Grosjean effectively having to slam on the brakes there to make sure he didn't do anything wrong there in running into a 40 Corsi way off the track, and now getting passed by Simona Di Silvestro down into... No! Nissany holds on to it. Brilliant move around the outside of turn 1 there to keep the racing line into the second corner there. So from bad driving to good driving there from Roy Nissany, and he keeps Simona Di Silvestro behind him. But Roman Grosjean, we run on board with now, doing a great job there to take evasive action around that 40 Corsi. And he continues now in P2, and this would be a well-deserved podium for the Manor team, Tom.
Well, a brilliant result and a brilliant end to the season for the Manor squad, who looked like they were in relegation trouble, weren't they, in the early part of the season, but they've managed to recover very well throughout the campaign. It's a step back from last year still, but can they go into next season on a high? I've just seen a few bits of smoke up ahead. I couldn't quite tell what that was. It may well have been a lock-up. We'll find out in a moment.
The gap now between Oliver Rowland and Scott Dixon is down to 3 seconds. It was about 10 seconds after Dixon got past Lotterer and Yonkadei. He's now absolutely obliterated that gap, and it's down to 3 seconds as we run on lap 53 out of 68 laps to go here at Laguna Seca. Scott Dixon absolutely on a charge. He wants to stand on the podium to claim this championship with Oliver Rowland. He's no easy driver to overtake. He will defend for all he's worth. The gap now down to 2.5. Half a second down just in that last sector alone, Tom. Scott Dixon is absolutely flying right now.
Absolutely flying.
Paul di Resta. Oh no. Midland, their run towards avoiding relegation has come to an end. And I think that will seal it for Midland. I think that will be the nail in the coffin of the relegation battle. Paul di Resta will pull off to the side of the circuit. That is such a shame for Michael Gillespie and the team. Running well within the points, keeping Sebastian Buemi behind him, but Paul di Resta, an engine problem, has put an end to his day and an end to Midland's chances of staying in League One.
I mean, commiserations for Michael there. He really needed Di Resta and Williamson to perform to their best today, and Di Resta did a really fine job, to be quite honest with you. He really, really did. And it's all come to naught now, hasn't it? You can see the car's on fire, so he'll be pulling off the track very, very shortly. Make sure you stay out of the way of other drivers. Doesn't quite do that, though.
Oh, that was so close to Kevin Magnussen, I think that was, which has now given the advantage to Wehrlein, who capitalises on that to get past Magnussen for P9 there. Paul di Resta exits the Laguna Seca Grand Prix in a ball of flame. He is out of the race, and Wehrlein, I think, just said thank you very much there.
Yeah, and Magnussen won't be too pleased with Di Resta with that one. De Vries goes up to 10, Pittman up to... Oh no, sorry, De Vries up to 11, Pittman up to 12, Markle up to 13, so it's not looking good for Prost at the moment. Now they've got to hope that Lotterer and Van Dorn get in front of Yonkadei.
So as it stands at the moment, NASCAR Lola are relegated, Midland Racing are relegated, and then we have Prost on 50 points, 40 Corsi on 51 points, and Minardi on 53 points if Yonkadei can bring it home in 5th place, which would put Prost into that not at all coveted P11 position, and they would be relegated as well. We still have 5.5 laps left to go here at Laguna Seca. Still possible for the Prost team to get something out of this. They've got Wittmann in 12th and Markov in 13th, albeit a lap down. Any further attrition at the front could see Prost pick up what would be some important points. Right now we run on board with Roman Grosjean, 19.4 seconds off the lead of Antonio Felix da Costa. There is Roy Nissany in P15, and Mahavir Raghunathan in the other 40, outperforming his teammate at the moment.
Just lost his backwards safely because Rowland has got Dixon all over the back of him.
Yeah, we cut to this at just the right time. Oliver Rowland has Scott Dixon all over his gearbox. Dixon bringing that gap right down, and he's now challenging for P3. Can he get that podium to basically finish the job and get the championship done here today. He's already in position to win the championship with P4, but he wants to pick up some silverware to get the job done here today. Now coming into his favourite overtaking spots of turn 5, getting down the inside there, and there we go. Scott Dixon through into P3. He was last at the end of lap 1, and he's put in the drive of his life to get himself up into a podium position and is now on course to win this championship. He still has to get through the rest of the race though. We still have 5 laps remaining here in Laguna Seca, but at this point now it's looking like Scott Dixon will just nurse the car home, make sure he gets to the end and bring home that all-important League 1 Drivers title.
What a brilliant comeback. And with Grosjean, I mean, someone's just gone in the pits. I couldn't quite tell who that was. Don't tell me that was Grosjean.
It was Mahavir Raghunathan into the pit, so a late pit stop for the Indian. Probably with some sort of problem. I don't think it would be a scheduled pit stop this late on in the race. But I was just saying about Raghunathan, he was outperforming his teammates. But then with that pit stop, he now falls behind. A good performance from Raghunathan, I think it has to be said, Tom.
Yeah, and he's been a stellar effort from Raghunathan in this race. He's been brilliant, and could anyone capture him for next season with this performance? Looking at say, and who knows?
Nick de Vries is going for a spin. So Nick de Vries into the barrier at the penultimate corner. The front wing has fallen off and the wheel has fallen off. Nick de Vries out of the race, which is going to put the Prost team into 11th and 12th. So Prost will be praying that there is more attrition at the front, which could get them an all-important point. And with De Resta now out of the race, that could be so important for the Prost team should anything else happen in this race. There is Scott Dixon trying to navigate his way through the traffic. He's dispatched Simona Di Silvestro, now trying to get past Roy Nissany here. Nissany should get out of the way of the champion-elect. There he goes around the outside of the penultimate corner. About to start lap 57 out of 60. It looks like Antonio Felix da Costa is going to take the provisional win of this race. Provisional pending a steward's investigation following the race. Romain Grosjean, 21.1 seconds off the lead, but on course for what would be a fantastic podium for himself and for the Manor team. And what about Scott Dixon? I think even if it all falls apart now for the Simtech team, still my driver of the day at the very least. He's gone from last up into third, and Scott Woodwiss, I think I speak for all of us when I say you would absolutely deserve this title.
So here's a battle for 5th place. This could really change the situation in the fight for survival, because the thing is, if Finland can get up one more position, that would send 40 down on countback.
Or it is that close for the relegation battle between the likes of Prost and Forti Corsi. Midland are going down, Lola's going down. There's only one slot left available, and who is going to be in that P11 slot that no one wants? Only a few laps left to run here before we find out. Andre Lotter is still not able to find a way past Danny Juncker-Dehe. He can't quite get that advantage over the Minardi. It looks like he's got a good run out of turn 6 though, but this is where Danny Juncker-Dehe loves to defend. And there we go, cutting across the front of the BMS again, and he still holds on to P5. Juncker-Dehe driving fantastically here. Andre Lotter getting a little bit frustrated, and so he should be, because he's also got Van Dorn in his mirrors.
Yeah, and this, I mean, if Dan Juncker-Dehe was to lose 2 positions here, that would still send Minardi down as well, so he's got to keep these cars behind him.
This is absolutely crucial for Juncker-Dehe. There's so much pressure on the shoulders of that Spanish driver for the Minardi team, drafted in as a replacement for Jos Verstappen mid-season, and that could be a move that helps Minardi stay in League 1. We're on lap 58 out of 60. And Motorsport Michael Gillespie, expressing his displeasure at Paul di Resta being out of this race. It was a great effort from Paul di Resta, and it could have been a life-saving one, but unfortunately the engine not going the distance. We do feel sorry for you at Macmillan Racing, Mike. We will see what Season 3 holds for you. Back at the front, Da Costa starts his penultimate lap, over 20 seconds ahead of Romain Grosjean, and Da Costa looking set to take the win here today. Grosjean in second. Dixon closing down on Grosjean at the moment, and there's only a couple of laps left, so maybe we'll run out of time to get that second place. And Lotter has another look at Juncker-Dehe. He just can't get that move done. Juncker-Dehe driving so defensively at the moment and refusing to give up that 5th place here. That 5th place that could send Midlands into League 1. There is Da Costa at the head of the field. Just bring it home, bring it to the end of the race and get your second victory of the season. Grosjean 22 seconds behind. 4.2 ahead of Dixon. Can Dixon close in that gap in the last couple of laps here? We'll keep an eye on it. Roland set for 4th place on his debut, which would help Topher Aguri seal the team's championship. And then battle royale between 5th, 6th and 7th. Buemi's in 8th place ahead of Wehrlein and Magnussen, the 2 AGS drivers looking to get a double points finish here today, and everyone outside of the top 10 has been lapped to this point. There's your championship-elect Scott Dixon, a lap and a half away.
Yeah, it's looking very good for Scott Dixon at the moment now. As you can see, Sebastian Buemi in 8th. Oof, I mean, he's closing in actually on Van Dorn is Buemi. I think he's going to run out of time. We'll see what he can do. As we're going to, he's on the fresher tyres, remember now, so he's got an opportunity to try and unlap himself from Van Dorn.
This is not what Van Dorn wants. He wants to try and get past Jongadea and Lotterer. He's actually looking in his mirrors at the Indian debutant behind him. There aren't any blue flag rules. Raghunathan can unlap himself if he's able to, but this will be frustrating Van Dorn no end. Meanwhile, at the front, we've just started the last lap of the race. Only 1 lap left to go for Scott Dixon before he claims this season's Drivers' Championship within League One. So only a handful of kilometres left to go. And then Scott Woodward can call himself a champion of Grand Prix World Series. There is Scott Dixon on his final lap now. What a performance this has been, Tom. Down in last at the end of the first lap. He's picked his way through the field, picked out his overtake opportunities. This is the drive of a champion.
Very much so, as Da Costa is coming around to complete the last lap of this race. But it's not going to be quite enough for the championship. But what an effort it has been today from Da Costa.
And Da Costa rounds the final corner. He is going to take victory as it stands at the moment anyway in Laguna Seca. And Tony Felix da Costa wins the League One Laguna Seca Grand Prix. A second win of the season for the Portuguese driver, but under investigation that will be discussed after the race. What about this guy here, Romain Grosjean? He was in 3rd earlier on. He benefited from his teammates' demise to go into P2. He stayed there and he now goes around the final corner and it will be P2 for Grosjean. But what about this guy here? Scott Dixon from last to P3. What a drive. What a champion. Scott Dixon wins the League One Drivers' Championship. An absolutely stellar performance there from the Kiwi and rightfully takes his place as the League One Drivers' Champion. It's been a fantastic season for him and for SimTech. That will make him the champion with 4 wins this season. Plenty of pole positions as well. And I believe with Roland finishing in 4th place, Topher Aguri will win the team's championship. So congratulations to Scott Dixon and congratulations to Topher Aguri.
And also congratulations to the Minardi team, because Danny Jongadea's 5th place has completed the great escape for the team. Minardi, who was 2nd from bottom at the beginning of today, have survived by the skin of their teeth. Very well done. And that condemns Prost to relegation, I'm afraid.
So the race is officially over, and what a race that was. Here are your race results. Antonio Felix da Costa wins ahead of Romain Grosjean. Scott Dixon takes 3rd place to become the Drivers' Champion of Season 2. Oliver Roland 4th on debut for Topher Aguri, good drive by him. Danny Jongadea helps Minardi avoid relegation with P5 ahead of Andre Lotterer and Stoffel Van Dorn. Sebastian Buemi 8th, and then the 2 AGS drivers in 9th and 10th. Prost just miss out on points and are relegated with P11 and P12. Di Silvestro, Nissany, Raghunathan, PK, Kobayashi, Hulkenberg and De Vries all classified. And then our retirements: De Resta, Nakajima, Andretti, Calderon, Williamson, Christensen and Bourdais. And absolutely fantastic race there. Deserving champion from Scott Dixon. It's been an absolute hell of a season. Let's have a quick look at who got the fastest lap. Scott Dixon, just to put the cherry on the cake there. And we can confirm Scott Dixon is your League One Drivers' Champion. Tom, give me your thoughts right now.
The right driver won the championship. I know he had these reliability issues, but he was the quickest guy by far over the course of the championship. And boy, does he deserve it.
Absolutely. Outright the fastest driver across the entire course of the season, plagued by reliability issues, as Tom said. But I think at the end of the day, the right driver has come away with the championship. Here are your final standings. Scott Dixon on 137 points. 8 ahead of Antonio Felix da Costa, who moves into 2nd by virtue of that victory today. Robin Freins, absent today, drops down into P3. Still a strong season for the Dutchman, but yet to win a race. Sebastian Bourdais, 4th for Onyx, ahead of Nico Hulkenberg. Andre Lotterer not doing enough to overhaul his countryman and stays in P6. And Buemi, Van Dorn, Magnussen and Wehrlein all within the top 10 as well. And Tom, it's been a close season all the way through, and 8 points of difference in the end. I think that says it all.
It definitely says it all, and I really cannot wait for next season. And yeah, obviously it's commiserations to my team, of course, Prost, who have gone down, who of course were outside the relegation zone at the beginning of today, and now they've just fallen into it, and it's been a really disappointing day. I haven't decided on what my future with the team is yet, but there'll be a decision made due course.
Well, let's have a quick look towards the teams, because we can confirm that Super Aguri is the League One Teams champion. With that first and fourth place finish today, they've got enough points to stay ahead of Onyx and Simtech. Super Aguri taking its first team's title in the Grand Prix World Series. And a quick look at all of the points. Super Aguri had 266 points across the course of the season. 34 ahead of Simtech, who steals second place off of Onyx. The Onyx team not scoring any points here today. Arrows in fourth, ahead of AGS, who beats BMS Scuderia to fifth place by 1 point. And in the top 10, also BAR, Mana, Minardi and 40 Corsi avoiding relegation. And here are your relegated teams. Prost, Midland and Lola. I mean, Tom, it was inevitable for Lola. Midland and Prost, they both could have avoided it today, but it's the way that it went, and both of them will be in League 2 for next season.
It's a very big shame for all those teams, not just for the Prost team, but for Midland. Mascot Lola, I think it was safe to say that they were going to struggle from day one, if I'm honest with you. And it just didn't quite go their way this season. Midland have been fairly unlucky, to be honest with you, but I think in terms of the pace they had, I don't think they did enough on merit to prove that they belong in League One. I think League Two could be a blessing for these teams in terms of how they can learn from the relegation drop and bounce back up next season.
Well, we look forward to Season 3 now. It'll be a completely new calendar, the addition of a few new tracks, but more importantly, the addition of a new league. We're introducing a third tier into the Grand Prix World Series. More cars, more drivers, more teams, more action. Make sure you stick around for it. It is the off-season now. We will get all of the teams and drivers sorted out in the off-season. We'll get all the entries sorted, and make sure you stay tuned to our YouTube channel to see when Season 3 will be kicking off. It's been an absolutely fantastic season. I'm Topher Smith alongside me, Tom Kent. Tom, just before we go, give me a summation of the season.
Exhilarating, unpredictable, so many different winners, and Season 3, I think, is going to be even better than what we've seen here in Season 2. And, of course, Topher, if there are anyone interested in becoming a team manager, why should they not get involved?
Absolutely. It says on the screen you can email us at downforceuk@hotmail.co.uk. Do you like what you've seen? Do you want to get involved and take part in the ultra-competitive Retro Racing Managers League? Send us an email and we'll try and see if we can fit you in anywhere. But for now, thank you so much to everyone for tuning in for Season 2 of the Grand Prix World Series. I've had a blast. We've all had a blast. Scott Dixon is your champion. Will Power is your champion. Leighton House and Super Aguri taking the team titles as well. It's been an absolutely stellar season, and we look forward to seeing you all in Season 3. Thank you so much for tuning in. Goodbye.